you getting yourself ready for our show?
Guys, it's another Tuesday for you. Bobby Roast Beef here with Jigs and Bigs. I got Sean the Fisherman with us. We have an awesome show to go over for you. It's a brand new week. We're in August is in full swing. Chronic Trips tournament is happening. Lots of fish are being entered. It's been like jungle climate here in New England, and it's been rough. But today it broke on Sunday as we record this. We're doing Sunday Live. We got the Jig Heads here with us. What are we talking about today? We're going to talk about, well, first off, we're going to talk a little bit about like professionalism. I had something come up to this week that got me thinking about how to be professional in the content creator world, so to speak, or actually, honestly, anything you do. I had a couple of cool run-ins at trivia, and I want to give a few shout-outs to some people. We're going to review some weeks. Sean's going to go over his adventure with EKF this last weekend at Winnipesaukee. It was a grinder. Let's just leave it at that. And then, of course, we're going to talk about just the tip. We're going to talk about prep in regards to weather specifically. I'm really excited about this one because I've got a ton of questions. Really looking forward to it, guys. We have some great stuff lined up for you. An amazing show, as usual. We've got an interview this week with Dylan Barber. I want to say he's our first official Texas Lone Star State interview. We'll find out, but we had a great conversation, and you're going to hear a lot about what he likes when he's out there at in the water, and how he likes things to go. We got lots to talk about in regards to fish, guys. Have yourselves a good one. Go ahead, get yourself something tasty to enjoy as we go ahead and get started with this show. We'll be back right after this right here. Here we are. It's Jigs and Bigs, guys. Man, Sunday Night Live. I look forward to this now. I look forward to this. You know, here we go. We're recording Sunday night, recording this show. Going to be released on Tuesday for everybody on all podcast platforms. But we got the Jig Heads. They're in here. They can comment and they can engage with us. Jig Heads, how you guys doing? Go ahead, jump in and as you see fit, and we'll include you in the show. Sean, how the hell are you, buddy? Have you regained your bearings yet?
No, I'm all fucked up.
Yeah.
I don't feel good. I haven't felt good. Now you just brought news to my attention over the past, half hour of pre-show stuff that you may have passed this horrible plague to me.
Yeah. I actually not
so,
good. Not good.
I feel like shit.
There's a little bit of like head cold something. I had thought that this was a allergy thing. This is about the time of year where the certain plants start growing, and you get like ragweed and stuff that kind of pops up, and it causes. We get into the like late summer and what do you call it? We get into like the August into early September, and my allergies go apeshit. Happens every single year. So that's kind of what I thought was going on. I had some post-nasal drip and stuff. I think actually, as we recorded last week, I was just starting to kind of feel the effects of it, and you can probably even still hear it in my chest. Like I'm still trying to clear things up in my chest. But I'll tell you what, doing trivia this week sucked. It was a really, really tough week to go and get out there and do all these events. Tuesday was a rough game. Wednesday started to get a little bit better. Thursday, things started to get a little bit better. Friday was really no problem whatsoever. Friday was so good to be back at Casa de Lisa, too, by the way. I missed it there big time. Missed it. But I had something interesting happen in trivia that was pretty cool. That relates to the show. And it's kind of odd because this is like the third or fourth time that somebody who listens to the podcast had come out to trivia and, started talking to me there. And it's kind of, I love it when those worlds sort of cross over. It was really cool. So before we get started with anything, I want to do a quick shout out to, and I wish I got this guy's name, but I do remember the team that he played with. The team was called Not the Boys, and they played over at the Deck in Northampton on Thursday night, and they won. They won the game Thursday night. Congrats to Not the Boys. Big group. I think there were like six or seven of them. And as I went to go give the gift card to the winning team, one of the guys who I handed the gift card to, he was like, "Yeah," he's like, "You're the same Bobby Roast Beef from the Jigs and Bigs podcast, right?" And it struck me kind of because I still haven't gotten used to that. You know what I mean, Sean? Like when people recognize me and they're just, I still haven't gotten used to it. And he's like, "Yeah," he's like, "You do the Jigs and Bigs podcast, right?" And I was, "Absolutely." He's like, "Oh, it's one of my favorites. I love it." He's like, "You guys are freaking hilarious." It's, it was just, he was really complimentary, and I appreciate that in a big way. But what was really awesome was after this exchange, I had gone back to tear down my equipment and get everything all situated. And I'm starting to do this, and one of the girls from his table comes over, and she asked me a question about I think it was about my schedule, like where my next events were. And she goes, he was going on and on and on about your podcast. Like, he was like, "It's a fishing podcast, but you guys should listen. It's really, really good." And that just made me so happy. Like, it's so cool. I can't, it blows my mind that people actually even listen to the show, let alone the fact that people will actually say such nice things to people that they care about, about this show. I think it's pretty freaking cool. Bananas.
It is nuts.
We got Nelson in here. Says today was a day and he wishes everyone was with him on the water. Yeah, I heard today was a good day. Jerry Howes jumped in and put an Instagram post up, said they were jumping in the kayak today. That's a good thing. Man, yeah.
Yeah.
Bananas. My week of fishing was weak. No pun intended. Yeah, I mean, it was rough. I had only gotten out a couple of times for little weekday jaunts here and there. In fact, I think one of them was, it was Monday, and I had gone out specifically for an evening bite because I knew with this new trivia schedule starting having me going Monday through Friday that's gone. It's dead in the water. There's no way I'm going to get that twilight bite during the week. You know what I mean? So I was, this is going to put a lot of pressure on the weekends to try to fit in as much of that as possible. So, excuse me, I had taken that rod that Gravy had hooked me up with, that Phoenix, that Feather FTX 77. That thing is amazing, man. I can fish a frog. I can fish a walking bait like all day long. Like, it's so unbelievably light and so sensitive. I had a couple of blow-ups on a frog, and then I changed bodies of water because the mosquitoes were so bad where I was, like that bad. So then I switched over bodies of water. I was throwing around a buzzbait. I could not get them to bite on top water at all. I couldn't get a bite at all, actually, anywhere else. Through a bunch of other stuff. I say a bunch, probably 2 or 3 other presentations, calculated presentations, no bites. Went back to the buzzbait to try to see if, I was losing daylight, I wanted to see if maybe something had changed. Had one swipe on that buzzbait, but that was all. That was it, nothing. And then that brings us to, I don't think I actually had gone out and fished much. Maybe an hour, but I caught nothing until Saturday. I had gone out with Paul, and we had hit up sort of a place that's got a little bit of lore with Paul and myself, and that's Quabbin Reservoir. We went back. Yeah, we went back to Quabbin Reservoir. We had gone out to what was it? Well, some of our jig heads for sure are going to know this, and I think we've talked about this before, that a few years ago, there was a very sinister and tragic happening that had occurred in a rental boat on Quabbin Reservoir, and it was rough. It was something that made me decide to put down the fishing tackle for a good little while, actually. And what ended up happening was, this time around, we had gone out and rented a boat, and I promised not to kill Paul. And we had ourselves a great time. It was awesome. I caught 5 or 6 in total. Paul wasn't able to track down a bite. I had gone out throwing a buzzbait early on. And then I was throwing a jerkbait, that 6 Cents Provoke 106. Then I was throwing a swim jig. I upsized a little bit because it gets pretty deep over there. I upsized to 3/8 ounce. Yeah, 3/8 ounce. 5/0 hook on that swim jig. Did I throw anything else? I don't think I threw a gun. I don't think I threw anything else. And I started out with a crappie that absolutely hammered the tail, the rear hook of that Provoke 106. It's absolutely annihilated. In fact, it was high enough and close enough to the boat where I could see it. I was just like, oh, that was a crazy bite. And I didn't realize he still had it and took off with it. And this was 9.75 for a crappie. I haven't caught a crappie in a minute. It's been a while. It's been quite a while. And this bait, made it look like a goldfish because it's a big jerkbait. And then we had fished around that area a little bit and got nothing. Tried a few other spots. Lots of weeds. Lots and lots of lily pads and matted grass in certain areas. So we were throwing frogs all over the place, and we would get blow ups, but nothing they would commit to. I had one that was was like that perfect storm of twitch, blow up as I twitch the rod for the next movement. And it's just you see the splash 3 or 4 inches right behind where the bait now is. You're like, son of a bitch. So I had no blow ups there, and I was hoping that I was going to hook one of these on, I've been throwing the Vega frog. It's like a poppin' style frog. So I use it a lot like in open water and along edges and stuff. And it's unbelievable action. Really, really great. And I ended up throwing, we kind of had moved off into the just past this one weed line, and without knowing it, I was just throwing a jerkbait, and I hooked into a white perch. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I was like, oh, we got a bite. Here we go. What do we got? And I'm like, all right, wrong species, but white perch. Awesome, cool. So we'll release him. All right, we'll go ahead and we'll fish this again, because I'm thinking if there's white perch down there, there could be another predator or something larger nearby, is my thought. So I'm working that jerkbait in different sort of areas. I hit another one, and then another one, and then another
Bobby,
one. Yeah.
This is where you're supposed to insert the clip from Jaws with the mayor doing the interview going, "We have reports that fishermen captured a large predator."
It's interesting you say that, because I just watched Jaws last night. I don't know why I decided to watch Jaws and Jaws 2 with my kids before they go to the beach, but it seemed like the right thing to do. Because I'm solo until Wednesday. This is just me and the dogs this week.
Were you watching the marathon on AMC or TBS or whatever it was on?
Oh no, I was watching Amazon Prime, baby.
Oh, okay.
On
okay.
demand.
Just checking.
So where was I going with that? Oh, so then I made the conscious decision. I was like, I'm going to throw this swim jig, because they're hitting this jerkbait and they're getting trebles in the mouth, Like, let's see if I can try to invite a larger bite. And I did. I got a larger white perch that took down that jerkbait. This is probably one of the biggest white perch I've ever seen in my life. And I've never caught a white perch, but I've been with other fishermen when they've hooked up with them. And I'm like, this is huge. This is unbelievable. So tossed him around. We did, we had kind of tried a few other spots, talked to some other anglers on the water, handed out some stickers. That was pretty cool. And we had a good time. It was a whole lot of fun. Not anything super fruitful, but we had some fun. And then, so Paul and I, we decided to call it a night, or call it a morning, and go grab some breakfast. And I said to Paul, I got an idea. Let's take a ride there's a spot in Palmer that Chris Dubari and I had breakfast at after I had caught that new PB. And we took a ride over to that place. It's called Girlie's Grill, and we enjoyed some omelets and some coffee and had a great time. It was pretty good. So lots of fun. But, no bass this week at all.
That sucks. Well, let me tell you what happened to me.
What's that?
This past week, I was heading up. I didn't fish at all, I don't believe, from the time we last recorded until Friday.
Yeah.
And Friday was pre-fishing for the 4th EKF, that's Elite Kayak Fishing, run by Ken Wood, Jason Gardner, and there was one other person, Adam Rourke. Sorry, Adam. And they're on their 4th trail. They're hitting big lakes. Their 4th trail stop. So I decided to get in on that, show Ken some support. I'm not going to be in the running for any sort of Angler of the Year or anything. This was my first stop with them.
Yep.
I'm not going to be in the championship, definitely after that this weekend. But we went out, and here's a nice thing, man. We stayed with I was invited to stay with Sarah and Chris Pendergrass.
Yep.
Which was awesome. All right. So they have a house up in Maine by the border. And we just drove the 45 minutes over to Winnipesaukee, on Friday and Saturday, and we had kind of a full house. We had check this lineup, this rogues gallery, if you will. So myself, Sarah, and Chris, Scott Wood, Dave Renfro, Steve Smith, Steve Hedges, all of us crammed into this cabin, ready to kick some ass, right? So as we discussed earlier during the lead in here, you got me sick, Bobby Roast Beef. I got a cold and I hate life. So I said, I'm fishing in this tournament, cold or no cold. And I bought what appeared to be enough Fisherman's Friend cough drops
to open a retail shop. Yeah.
Dude, not only did I clear out every CVS I could find, but I was going street corner to street corner with shady guys with trench coats going, you got what I need? And they were like, yeah, we got the Fisherman's Friends. Lemon and regular. I didn't screw around. So I loaded up on those
with the lemons, only the regulars.
Dude, I mixed it up. I ate so many of them. Yep. I know Fisherman's Friend has, do not eat more than X on this box for a day. I ignored that, blew it out of the water. I didn't care. I had to fish. So we got out and we threw in at one of the more northern sections. And I had asked them, because they know the terrain, like where I'm looking at this one area I want to hit. And I was open with where I wanted to fish. And I said, there's a launch like, I don't know, 2+ miles on the north of it. And there's a launch, 2+ miles on the south of it. Which one's easier? Or is there one in the middle? And they said, no, there's nothing.
Oh.
So I said, all right, take me to where you want. So we went to this one spot, rather weedy. There were largemouth and smallmouth in the spot. And the pre-fishing day started out great. I got around a corner. I was using some finesse topwater techniques. I got blown up by a smallmouth, nice 16-incher, 16 and a half, I think it was. Very happy. Went around my way, and then it was nothing but nibblers all day. Nibbler largemouth, nibbler smallmouth, and just rock bass destroying plastic creatures like you wouldn't believe. So the creatures I use, I was remember we talked about, I kind of got throwing those Zoom baby brush hogs again.
Yes.
So the baby brush hogs have those little circular appendages, like the arms, so to speak.
Yeah, they're like arms, but they're
circular. It's like a U attached to the body. And I usually break one end off so they twist a little bit, right? Little twirly arms. And
maybe you might call it a paradiddle.
Paradiddle, a nightcrawler, whatever. So he threw me off, you dick. I pull the arms, make a little twisty paradiddle arms, as Bobby Roast Beef has coined them. And man, do the rock bass love ripping those things off, which is fine. The problem was with the arms ripped off, and I tried, nothing else would hit them. I don't know why every species was targeting these arms. So there were literally, 10 to 15 of them I would replace it after a fish damaged it. And my first cast out, I would feel a thump, and then an arm was gone, and I would have to take that whole thing off and just throw it away. That was just a waste, because a rock bass would get in there and grab the shit. So I actually ended up staying out a lot later than everybody else. Everyone else went back. We didn't catch any fish to eat. We were going to make some bass pizzas. I should make note, I had some foresight to do something I'll get into in a minute, but
all right, yeah, that was
I stayed out there later than everybody else. Instead of just fishing 6 to 2 like the tournament was, I said, well, it's pre-fishing, I'm going to stay out till 4 or whatever.
Yeah.
Got back in the truck, completely deflated. I'm like, that is not good. I did manage to get a 15-inch largemouth. Those are the only 2 keeper fish I caught all day pre-fishing. I'm like, all right, I'm in trouble. Like, it was bad. And I think out of all of our group that fished, myself, the Pendergrass, and who was there? It was Scott Wood, I believe. No, was it Scott Wood? No, it was Steve Smith.
Okay.
So, Steve, I think, caught something of value on the pre-fishing day, but that was that. Well, we get back, and Sarah and Chris had gone to a local pond and grabbed a largemouth. There's a 13-inch largemouth, so I could cut up and cook for pizzas. But with my foresight being so Nostradamic, they had some venison in the freezer that I said, look, just in case we don't get anything, we're going to have some venison, right? And Sarah had a whole jar, which I have the remnants of, and I think you should try. We might have to do some pizzas this week if I get better. Of her homemade, everything from her garden pasta sauce.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, I told you it's a red sauce, but it's got that orange ting to it, like a vodka sauce. So I guess she threw a lot of orange and yellow bell peppers in there.
Yep.
Which
that'll do it.
Fantastic. She also She also winged a couple of jalapenos in there, a couple of jalapenos.
Oh, she winged them.
Winged them, fired
Nice.
them. Yeah, so that was good. So I had a fish. She actually had crushed a bunch of garlic straight from the garden and a red onion. So I went to town. I got 2 Bass pizzas, which everyone enjoyed, and then I said, "Give me the venison." I put her sauce down on the tortilla, if you will, and then some cheese, and then I had fried up the venison with some salt and pepper, threw that on, so just a hamburger pizza, right?
Yep.
Third one, we got cool. So Steve Hedges. Steve actually won one of the Western tournaments. He won the last Western tournament, the 57 run.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yep. So Steve Hedges was there, and Steve said, "I wanted to thank you guys," meaning Sarah and Chris, "for letting us stay here." And Steve brought lobsters.
Ooh.
So I was full at that point, but I said to Sarah and Chris, I said, "If you don't mind, while I'm finishing up the venison, while this lobster's cooking, grab one of these lobsters and just crush some up for me, and I'll cut it up and throw it on a pizza." So the lobster pizza, or actually, well, hell, we were up in Maine. The lobster pizza was born this weekend. The venison pizza I've actually had before. We had venison with, I think green peppers, but no, the lobster pizza was born. Little garlic, little onion, little oil, a lot of cheese, a lot of lobster.
Nice.
Done.
Nice.
So we did that. Yep. And then there was a strategy session, and some folks were going one way, some folks were going the other. Chris and Steve Woods, Jesus Christ, I'm getting all the names mixed up. Steve Smith were nice enough to let me tag along because I told them where I was going. I'm like, look, I just want to launch near here. I don't want to be alone because I don't know this place. I don't want to go somewhere I'm not supposed to, et cetera. I said, do you guys mind if I follow you to launch? And then I'm going my own way. Here's where I'm going. And they had no plans on fishing there. So we got up at 2:30 in the morning on Saturday after about 4 hours of sleep. It was pretty brutal. And Friday night, it was extremely brutal. We didn't get any sleep. And, actually, we didn't get any sleep Thursday night, come to think about it either. We woke up that early Friday, too. So I'm sick. I'm sleep deprived. I got sunburnt on Friday a little bit, even though I was coating myself regularly with, what's that shit? Sunbum. Those guys, they make a hell of a freaking sunblock, but you have to apply it a little more regularly than I did because I just got fried. So I'm not feeling well on Saturday. I'm like, let's get this over with. Let's go. And a number of people were also at the launch with us. A couple familiar faces, John Ferreira.
Yep.
We all know John, and from MAKB, and Ari Stonehill. I think I mentioned Ari's name a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
So they were there and in the dark with all of us waiting. And this one little launch had no room to launch at. And I'm kind of amazed that the amount of vehicles got in there that did, to the point where some guy parked his truck and his trailer into the road. And I found out later that Chris and Steve later said, fuck that guy themselves, lifted up his trailer and moved it into the brush so that people could get by.
Really? Good for them.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah, they get applause. So here's how my day went. We could pre-launch or launch early at 5:30.
Yep.
Lines in the water at 6. My little spot was 2+ miles away from where we launched.
Oof.
So I started pedaling. I fucking pedaled. I pedaled for over 45 minutes with one break in the middle of the lake because that's a big body of water.
It is.
I was in the middle of the lake and I figured no one can see me. Hell, even somebody fucking 3 feet couldn't see my wiener. And I took a big leak standing up.
There you go.
I had so much coffee. And then I kept back going. So I went to a place where I had never been there. That just hit you?
Yeah.
Here I am being self-deprecating for you and you taking your time. So I went to a spot that had a quick drop off and a couple of points. And honestly, the point, I wasn't going to say this because if I ever have to, no, you know what? I'm not going to say it because if I ever have to go back there, I want to go back. Only Steve and Chris know where I went. But I went out there and.
So you mean you wouldn't share your spots on social media?
No, we'll talk about that later. Let me put another cough drop in because is that an annoying noise? It's a cough drop in my mouth.
We'll let the jig heads comment and they can find out what the hell is he doing. Is he eating a jar full of pennies? What the?
No, just rolls of pennies. So I pedal my ass out there to this nice point. I'm all happy. There's a good drop off. Found a weed bed. Found a whole bunch of boulders.
Mm-hmm.
Missed 2 fish real quick. I'm like, what the hell just happened there? Because I was reeling my bait in, not jigging it. It was using those creature baits. I'm like, it was coming back in, and one big one swiped out at the boat. I'm like, what the hell was that? It could have been a pickerel. I don't know. The water was like completely dark in the morning. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It was cloudy. So then, as I worked my way around, same thing, man. Nibblers, rock bass, nibblers, destroyed lures. And then I hooked into what appeared to be a 16 or 17 inch largemouth. I'm like, well, that's weird. That's hanging out here in this rock pile, but whatever. Yep. And he decided he wanted nothing to do with the net and threw the hook at the boat. So that sucked, but I bounced back. A couple minutes later, I put him. Thank you, Nelson.
Nelson jumps in and says he's putting his dentures in.
Get off my lawn. So I then proceeded to hook a smallmouth, who apparently was watching the largemouth and thought that was a good way to be released. And he did the same. As Andy calls it, long distance catch and release. That was great, throwing the hook. So now I'm 0 for 2. I just happened to take a glance at the scoreboard. It's, 7:30, 8 o'clock. John Ferrer's already got over 70 inches. I'm like, well, that's fucking great. So I'm like, all right, I'm playing for pride now. I keep going up my little shoreline here. I had a stretch I wanted to hit. And I got a smallmouth on the board. Yay, 15-incher.
Nice.
I'm like, that's a start.
It's a start, yep.
Couple casts later, 16 and a half. I know it was 16 and a half, Bobby Roast Beef.
Because that was what it measured moments before it flipped off your board while you were taking the picture?
Now who's Nostradamic? You are. So, yeah, that happened. So I have now landed, I've hooked 4 fish, landed 2 of them, and actually turned 1 in. From that point, my day went downhill. I hooked no more fucking quality fish. I hooked all 9 and 10. I hooked over 2 dozen 9 and 10 inch smallmouth and rock bass all combined.
Oh,
and
dude.
The wind picked up. Now here's. I'm not even going to call this a mistake. This was on purpose. And tell you what, for everybody listening to Fish's tournaments, I do this again in a heartbeat. At about 11 o'clock, we had scattered thunderstorms moving in, and the clouds got bad.
Yeah.
And you know what I did? I started making my way back. I left the one spot that I felt was going to turn up fish, which was turning up fish. It wouldn't have been, I don't think it would have mattered in the end, and I'll get to that in a minute, but I left it because I was worried for my own safety.
Yeah.
So I went back. The wind was pushing me the whole way. The clouds dissipated. We did get some rain, but no lightning, no thunder. That was good. And the only other fish of note that I got, which went right into chronic trips, much to Chris Pendergrass's disdain, he was not pleased that I bumped him out of second. I got a just shy of 24-inch pickerel. It was 23 3/4.
Oh, that's not
I got
bad.
that on a chatterbait, and he slammed the shit out of it. So that was nice.
Nice.
But no, my day sucked. There's another part of my day I'm going to talk about in the Fuck That Guy segment.
Yep.
Because
that's coming up.
You can't go to a rec lake these days without having a Fuck That Guy moment.
You really can't, man.
No, and it was uncalled for too, completely. This was just out of the blue, and somebody really went out of that way to say, "Hey, I hear you've got a podcast and a segment called Fuck That Guy."
How do I get on your podcast? That's one way, I suppose.
I would like to volunteer my services for some content. So we got that coming up, and that was my day. And then when we got back to the banquet, the award ceremony, let me think of who won. It was Josh Smith from the Dark Waters podcast. He ended up taking first place.
Oh, okay, nice. Monster
of a largemouth with lunker. 22 and a half or 22 3/4. I'd have to look again. I think it was 22 and a half.
Nice.
So with this high stakes fishing with a regional tournament like this, Josh not only won first place, but because that was the biggest fish in the 4 trail events for EKF, he also won a Bixby motor for his kayak.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dude, so that's a great little prize.
Yeah, he got the double whammy on that. And then I'm not going to go through the entire list of everybody who won. The only person that was in the house with us that picked up a spot, there were 6 spots that paid out, was Scott Wood. Everybody finished, I believe, in the top 6 with like 78 or over, 80 or over. I think it was 80 or over. 80 inches out of 5 fish. And second place was Jake. Oh, God, I'm going to fuck his last name up. I forgot Jake's last name. Apologies, Jake. Begins with an A. Jake revealed that he was actually drop shotting in 70 feet of water to pull up his fish.
So they weren't just deep. They were deep.
Yeah. Sorry, I broke up your deep. I didn't know what was going on.
It's okay. It's okay. I was still going deep.
Yep. As you should. And we're not even at just a tip yet.
I know.
So we found out that 5 out of the 6 folks, maybe 6 out of 6. I can't remember what Josh said he was doing, but everyone was drop shotting or using finesse tackle.
Yep.
In like I think starting at 25 to 30 feet and going deeper. It was just insane. That is not my game. If the fish were up where they were at, I could have done well. They weren't. It's one of those things where I am not a deep water fisherman. And I was talking to somebody on the way home, like, why don't you just do that? I'm like, dude, those guys were risking their lives out in that boat traffic to fish 70 feet of water.
That's the thing.
I'm not doing that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not. I mean, I may one day learn to drop shot. I may. I have used it in the past. I just don't like doing it. But that asking me to drop shot, win or lose, is like saying, hey, Shaq, the Celtics are leaving you open on defense on the 3-point line. Why don't you start jacking threes? How's that going to go? He might hit a couple. But guess what? The Celtics are going to win every time.
Yep.
Take my lumps on in the next tournament. So I did not do well. I felt like shit. We got back to the house. I immediately crashed for 2 hours, woke up, got some pain relievers from Sarah and Chris. They're like, here's some Advil, go back to bed. I did. I had a headache, snot, sore throat. I was just a miserable human being. And I slept, with the exception of like 2 bathroom breaks, for almost 13 hours, I think. I was done. I woke up this morning and I'm like,
good feeling though when you wake up from that kind of sleep. Oh,
because I'm still sick.
Yeah, but even then, it's just you just like, oh, I need.
So I drove home, and on the way home, I got stuck in traffic in New Hampshire, and I called you about this.
Yeah,
and I sent you a picture.
Yeah,
a magical thing happened that just put a nice little end cap on my weekend.
It was good.
I found Mr. Charlie's Hippie Shack, which is a Grateful Dead fish jam band store that sells tie-dye t-shirts. And I got a Grateful Dead shirt and I went back on my way. Then I went home. Now we're recording a podcast.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
There is something that is kind of just like, it's very late breaking. This just kind of happened. In the past, well, I'm gonna go ahead actually and just share the screen so that our jig heads can see exactly what I'm talking about. We got tagged in a post on Instagram right here from Lady of the Lund. Lady of the Lund tagged us in this picture. This is a really good photograph of an amazing looking paella. And I'll read you guys the caption so that our listeners on the podcast can know what the hell we're talking about. It's a beautiful picture of this paella. It says, so we had a 7.5-hour road trip home yesterday. So we listened to old episode of Jigs and Bigs. Lots of laughs, and the mention of paella got hooked up north a little hungry. Dinner tonight brought to you by one of the best fishing podcasts out there. Check them out. Lady of the Lund, thank you so much for the kind words. And, we haven't really gone on any paella tangents in a while. It's been actually quite some time, I think, since we've kind of gone on any sort of a tirade
Minnesota.
of paellas. That's right. You did have a paella in Minnesota. I wonder if that was the episode. I had my paella.
We went off on a big tangent on that.
That's right.
I wonder if that's the episode they listened to.
It could have been. It definitely could have been. No, but that was definitely a good one. One other thing I want to mention, we have 3 new members of the Jig Head family that have just jumped on here. And normally, we have folks that pop on all the time. There's actually 4 that I want to go ahead and mention. One of them is Josh Hubner, he is hooked up north. So we got Josh, we've got Chris Speak, who has just joined us. Sarah Pendergast has just joined us as a jig head, and Tim O'Keefe. Our newest jig head as part of the family. So welcome to the fam, everybody. We're gonna.
I owe Josh an apology.
Oh yeah.
Because we called him Fishing Up North a couple shows ago. I apologize.
That's
I
right.
said that to him. I'm like, man, I'll mention it on the show. I can't believe I called you Fishing Up North. That's my bad. Hooked Up North rolls off the tongue a lot better.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it's Hooked Up North. We got
so if you're on Instagram, get him. Hooked Up North.
A couple comments from the jig heads coming in here. Our one and only Loaded Potato says 1 3-pointer in his entire career. That's good defense. I don't know what that's about.
Shaq. My Shaq analogy.
Oh, that was your Shaq. Okay, all right. That's good. Jay Manning jumps in here and he goes, "Welcome, guys and gals." And Berkshire Brett jumps in and says, "So it's been like 3 weeks since paella was mentioned." Really? It feels like you got back from Minnesota so long ago.
It's the COVID decade.
It really. You know what? Actually, now that I think about it, you got back a week after I got back from Vegas. Which is only about a month ago. Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yep.
Well,
So
so it is what it is.
yeah. Bobby, we have something important to talk about this week before we wrap up segment 1 here.
We do.
And I'd like to ask you a favor.
Fire away.
I want you to get the audience started because you and I have already discussed this, so I can jump in midstream. I made a mistake. I started this podcast without my power cord into my laptop. So I have
that why you've gone to like absolute darkness?
I turned off the dimness to my screen or the fucking brightness, so I'm getting nothing.
Gotcha.
I'm hiding. I see, there's comments being made.
Yep.
This was a technical error. I'm sick. Give me a break. I have some sort of Ghana, Sifa, Herpa something. I don't know what I have. And the result of that is forgetting power cords. It's a major symptom. It happens all the time. It's in medical records.
It's true.
Fucking logs. So you get the people started, and I will be right back.
All right, so folks, let's talk a little bit. First off, I want to throw something out here before we get any further. Is some congratulations to a former coworker of mine at my former place of employment. Just announced on Instagram that he and his wife have a newborn daughter. I believe this is their first. So congrats to Tom. Huge congratulations. Psyched for you, dude. Welcome to the club. Fathers of daughters, man, are a different kind of breed, man. Welcome to the club. It's exciting. But anyway, what is it I want to talk about? Let's talk about this. That we got to talking about, some folks that I worked with at this place, and I kind of make no bones about the fact that my previous job it defined a toxic work environment. It was awful. I've always said since I started working for myself in I think it was early 2015, when I started working for myself, I said it's one of the best decisions I ever made. I'll never, ever go back to working for somebody else. And I try to do that. Like that, I enjoy working for myself that much. Working at this place was just awful. Like it broke you down. You know what I mean? And it was one of these things where, from my past experiences, and I spent 20 years working at this place almost. So, I've been there a long time, and you see people come and go, and, people do stupid shit, and you have a large group of people that are working under one roof together. You're going to have differences of opinion and you're going to have personalities that people like or don't like or whatever. And, it is what it is. But one thing that always kind of just irked the hell out of me was when, and Sean, I know you and I have had this conversation before about workplaces and such, and you can probably lend some insight to this, is where, you'll have somebody who is leaving the position or something along those lines, and they're going on to either greener pastures or a new venture or whatever it might be. And, the stupid bullshit that people would kind of smack talk them about, it never goes away, even though that person doesn't work there anymore. They still get brought up in conversation, and you're like, really? How sad is it that you guys are constantly rehashing all this old horse shit instead of working on what you're working on? And one of the things that in this kind of conversation that came out of this kind of went into in business practice and things like that. There's lots of networking that goes on in businesses. There's lots of networking that happens in every industry. And what I have found is that you find these pockets where it's the same thing, where you get folks that will just shred people because they disagree with something that maybe they put out there, or something that the way that they brand themselves, or maybe they have there's some detail that somebody finds a flaw with, and they just put so much effort on just well, this is bullshit and this is blah 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 and this is whatever. But really, at the end of the day, if you look at the big picture, and I've always tried to be a big picture guy, why? What does that ever get you? At the end of the day, just work on you, and that's ultimately that matters. The biggest thing that I ever gained was when I really walked away from this work environment. I dedicated almost 20 years to them, and this is the field I went to college for. This is what I wanted to do, and I was like, fuck it, I'm done. I'm doing what I want to do, what I need to do to, and I just basically look away from all the haters, because that's really what they are. They're haters. Sean, what do you think?
When someone leaves a workplace, right?
Yep.
I think my approach to it has always been different from a lot of other people, where I'm just like, dude, good luck. And when it's not a retirement's something different. But good luck. Go out and do what you want. Like, this is America. Go out and
Yeah.
do this. It seems like people get so locked in, and I know there's a degree of selfishness, like at certain workplaces, especially like manual labor jobs. Somebody leaves, that means it's more work for you. And
I understand how that could be like a chip on somebody's shoulder. Like, awesome, great. Now we're we're understaffed now. X amount of people. We're never going to get back up to speed. I get that. I get the frustration.
Yeah, I've always approached it as, especially someone who has moved around careers a number of times, like, go out and try to make yourself happy, because it sucks. We have to work in this, you have to work to get what you want. You have to.
And that's the thing. Go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, so like, if you got to do it, you try to be happy with it. If you're not happy with it, change it up.
Yeah.
Like, do something to make yourself happy. But at the same time, like when I was advising people on careers, don't just do something not well thought out. Like, it's a big move you've got to make. You know what I mean? Like, make sure you're prepared to do that. So when people would leave around me, most of the time I was like, man, keep in touch. Hope shit's going well. Let me know what's going on. Yeah. And then I know when I left a couple jobs, I'm sure my name got ran through the mud. And honestly, I don't give a shit. It sucks. And when I say I don't give a shit, it's not being a tough guy. The action behind not giving a shit would be if one of those people that I used to work with reached out to me and said, I need something, I would help them.
Yep.
Even though I know somebody talks shit.
Yeah. Berkshire Brett jumps in here and he goes, and I knew there was going to be a lot of feedback from this, because this is something that I feel like, whether you're whatever it is that you're doing, even if it's just a passion project, let's say you're a guitar player, you know what I mean? And you want to you're like, dude, I'm going to cover every single freaking song from Lindsay Lohan's musical career, and that's going to be my shtick. Well, then do it. Who gives a fuck? You know what I mean? Yep. Like, you got to do what you got to do, because it's almost like, if that's your calling, just do it. And you know what? The thing is, people are going to do things differently than you. Like, for instance, for me as a trivia host, there are people who they run their games into completely different. Like, they play into that whole, like, well, this is basically Jeopardy and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you're taking yourself far too seriously, man. And there's the reality of it is that the differences between all of these avenues, like whether it's content creators, musicians, comedians, everything, the differences, podcasts. I've heard people say before, they're like, oh, I really like this podcast. I like Jigs and Bigs, but the swearing is a bit too much. And I say, fuck them.
I would like to double down on that. Fuck him.
That's the thing. It's like there's a guy who, his name is Rich Tardy, and Rich used to be in a band in this area that was just absolutely fantastic called the Swill Merchants. And Rich, I got real friendly with all the guys in that group. And there was one time we were having a discussion, and Rich said something that was like so unbelievably smart. I was hanging out with a group, and it was a couple of the guys from a band that I was in at the time. And one of our like lead songwriters was saying, oh, I should, I'm considering writing more this direction. What do you think like people would want from us? And Rich goes, hey man, question for you. When was the last time Christina Aguilera knocked on your door asking what her next fucking album should be like? It's never happened. Because there's people that are going to like what you do, and there's people that are not going to like what you do, and it's up to them to decide what they like. The shit you put out has to be organic. Berkshire Brett jumps in. He goes, toxic work environments are no good. No amount of money is worth it for your happiness. I totally agree with that. He's like, I've had to move around quite a bit to get away from it. At the moment, I make okay money, but I'm a lot happier. The thing is I feel like the value on your happiness is such a huge point to be acknowledged. Like your happiness is so much more important. Like you might have to, grind a little bit elsewhere, find a side hustle to make ends meet or something like that. But if you can do so and be happy, go for it. We got Andy jumps in and says they're jealous that you left and they're stuck in that shit work environment. There's definitely something to be said there too. I've for sure noticed that. Jay jumps in and says, many can relate. Haters are going to hate. Just run them out, man. They're going to be stuck in their hole while you rise up. That's exactly what it's all about. And then Nelson jumps in and says, sounds like someone that may be jealous or downright disrespecting a person for their success. It's sad, really. At the end of the day, like all you can do is just work on you.
Yeah. And like I said, I've always approached it where even if someone does say you're a fucking idiot for doing this, or you're going to change your career in that, or you're leaving a sure thing. Again, I don't care. Down the road, if you need a hand, let me know. I worked with you. There's a degree of loyalty. If I worked side by side with somebody for 5, 10, 20 years, I do have that degree of loyalty where I'll say, what do you need? How can I help? That's how I approach things. It's never like if someone called me up that I used to work with and said, hey, dude,
that's exactly it.
I'm in this dildo business now. And I would listen to hear them out and I'd be like, you're in a dildo business. Okay. What do you need from me? Like, how can I help? What, like, do you need a design? Do you need names for your dildos?
Yeah.
What can I do?
You actually, you would be the executive chair in dildo naming. I think you would that would be your ideal. Yeah.
But I also would have limits of, no, I will not try those dildos out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're not going to run QC. Not my circus, not my monkeys, or my dildos.
But I would have some input. So, how many zip ties
no
would
pun
that
intended.
dildo need? How many zip ties would that dildo need to be properly secured to a trailer with a canoe on top?
Exactly.
2, 4? We need to work on this, guys. I might throw that out, but I'll be, I'm there. What do you need? Like, that's just the way I am. But not everybody's like that, and it's unfortunate because.
And that's the thing. I mean, I think that, like, especially we deal with a lot of people who make content, a whole lot, and there's different ways of doing things. Like, people have different agendas, and the thing is that's okay. It's like, with us, like, we're a podcast. This is our platform. This audio only stuff. A lot of people ask about us, moving over to doing more stuff with video. And while that might eventually come down the road, right now, what we have is really good. And I think that we're really happy with that. And, I mean, I'm sure that there's folks that are going to say things like,
like that. Oh, they're going to say stuff like, that was a big willy. I'm sorry. I don't read the comments because these things happen. Now I got to stop.
Timing is
fucking
perfect.
Ellie, why?
I sent her the video.
Dying. Wait a minute. We're both dying.
I sent her the video, and it was a big willy. It was.
What the fuck?
That might be another exclusive because that's not going on anybody's social media, but that might end up on the Patreon. Nope. It might. I don't know. It might be worthwhile. But that's what I'm getting at is like, it's don't, especially in this, we get so caught up. We network with other content creators. We network with folks that maybe have a different agenda. I mean, they maybe their focus is in one specific arena, that they're working on. It's like, instead of being so concerned about what somebody else is doing, like if you're going to bitch so much about the way somebody's running their business, essentially, think of the time you wasted in improving your own.
Yeah.
That, I guess, is the ultimate, like, kind of takeaway. It's like, just, it's just that, and it's kind of crazy how this one conversation with a former coworker, had turned into another conversation with my wife, and then gone to another conversation with other groups of people regarding exactly the same kind of shit. So it was like, it was really just kind of crazy. But like, yeah, it's like that toxic, like, water cooler, Yeah.
And with what we've been doing, I think you've seen over, since our time together, Bobby Roast Beef.
Thicker than a Snicker.
Yes, it was not a Snickers bar. I think you've seen, like, this whole world is new to me. This
Snickers
whole podcasting
really satisfies.
Why? I'm trying to be serious.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all right. I interrupted with the Big Willie thing, or she interrupted. But like, this whole, like, actually being involved on social media thing is new to me, and I didn't want to at first. Remember, I was like, dude, I want to keep my name off social media. I'll be on this podcast, but I was like freaked out by it. But now it's just so simple of, we have this giant network. There's people that are involved with this. As long as they're not doing stupid shit, and I mean stupid shit that'll get somebody in trouble,
Exactly.
We have our lines that we don't cross. If you listen to the podcast enough, you can read between the lines, and there's topics we don't touch, and we're happy with that. This is fishing, and this is stuff we want to cover. But as long as somebody's not going over a line where we don't go, I'm happy to like their Instagram post. Yeah, dude, is that what you need? You want them? I'll follow. What do you need? Like, if you're working on a project, give me a call. If you think I have some sort of valuable input. I don't know who the fuck would think that. Well, Damien did.
Yep.
So, he's got a line of plastics and said, can you do a couple things? Yeah, fuck yeah. What do you need?
We should mention that the plastic that was attached to Cody's trailer was not one of Damien's plastics.
No, I did ask for him to get a mold of that because I've got a side project, but that's not here or there. But I mean, it's just being positive because the main thing is if you treat someone like you want to be treated, chances are in the future it's going to come back to you because now you've made not only I don't know, shall we say a friend or an acquaintance, but you might have made somebody who's a business partner who can say, hey, this dude's fucking really hooked me up. Something good just came my way. I think I can involve them in that. Yeah. It happens. We do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. That's a really good point, because you do. You get back what you put out.
Yeah. So I don't know,
and if what you put out is monstrous dildos, then great.
I can only hope. I mean, I have my dreams, Bobby. I'm really not happy here. It's a toxic environment, me and you. I mean, I just want to make dildos. I just want to name them. Damien makes different. Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
He does. Oh.
Yeah. So I don't know. You want to go down any further past on this? I guess.
No, I think that about does it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've dwelled enough.
Yeah. So sorry, our hot topic, our hot take of the day was not fishing related. It kind of is. It's more to do with the social media and businesses aspect of it.
Yeah. But the networking and stuff.
We felt it was important because you brought it up and started tying into this, and I agreed with it. So it's cool, man.
I love it.
I hope everyone can listen. They almost kind of got just a tip out of this.
In a way, you know what? You might actually have to word it this way, that this episode here is chock full of tips. Chock full of tips. Tips coming at you from every which direction. We got a tip here. We got a tip there. We got tips over here. I'm hiding a tip behind me.
It's a veritable orgy of tips. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to cut to break real soon here and punch your jaw loose. We've got a quick word from our good friends at Old Glory Outdoors. Guys, when we get back, we've got Just the Tip. We've got FTG. We got a whole bunch more and a tournament breakdown for you for what's been going on with Chronic Trips. Don't go too far. We got lots more jigs and bigs coming up right after this.
Moist towelette.
Jigs and Bigs is proud to announce we're being supported by Old Glory Outdoors. They're a veteran-owned company that carries fishing and hunting gear. Plus, they're highly active in supporting veteran organizations and charities. Old Glory is an authorized dealer of favorite rods, FX rods, Guggen baits, X-Zone lures, Sixth Sense, and many more. There's a brick-and-mortar store located in East Brookfield, Massachusetts, but you can also order online at oldgloryoutdoors.com. They ship anywhere in the lower 48 states or order online and pick up at the store. When you order, use the promo code JIGS and Bigs and you'll save 10% off your complete order. Plus, you'll help support the show. Make sure to check out the apparel line called OGO Gear while you're there. Old Glory Outdoors believes in the slogan "Start 'em young" to keep kids away from screens and enjoying nature. They've got a full array of live bait too. Check out oldgloryoutdoors.com and use the promo code JIGS and Bigs. Save some money and gear up now.
Bobby and Sean now have a special presentation for us all. They'd like to give everyone just the tip.
Indeed we do.
It's not just us. Apparently our jig heads want to give everybody
It's
just
true.
a tip, too.
And in some cases, the whole damn thing, apparently. I don't know.
We've got quality control dildo inspections going on in this chat. What is happening?
It's gone off the rails. I'm okay with it. I'll allow it. I'll allow it. So in this week's Just the Tip, we're going to continue on with the preparation. You're planning for a trip, and this is the one sort of area where I am a little bit more baffled than anywhere else because I'm not 100% sure the right decisions to make. And that's got to do with the weather conditions, like what's going on weather-wise. There's a couple of typical standard rules that I try to follow, but in fishing the rules can be broken if you have some experience and if depending on the variables involved. So Sean, let's go ahead and get into it.
All right, so I'm gonna start. This is gonna be a two-part conversation. It's gonna be two tips. Two-part tip. Double-headed tip? What is this? One of those snakes born with two heads?
So it's like a hydra? Is that what you're saying?
We got a fucking hydra. Well, I hope there's not three of them. Then we'll have King Ghidorah. We don't want that shit. Anyways, the first thing I want to look at is obviously clothing. We've talked about preparing for the weather properly. If it's cold out, bring something warm. Always, if it's going to be wet out, or if you think you might get wet, bring a spare set of clothes that'll keep you warm in your vehicle. Keep it, or a dry bag and go in your kayak or whatever, or your boat. Just, that's pretty simple, easy enough. There's part one. Part two is how do you know what you need to bring?
Yeah.
Well, there's a number of apps. There's a number of websites. You name it, you can figure out what the weather is. Apple and Android phone. Yeah, Android phones will have. They both have weather apps that are from the makers. So there's an Apple one that pops up, and there's an Android one. So I get that. I don't even know how to turn mine off, which pisses me off because I use a couple other ones. But the other ones I use are two websites, and I think they both have apps. I don't use an app for NOAA.
Yep.
And I've found over the years that NOAA is kind of like doom and gloom. So if you want to prepare for the worst, check out what they're saying. But then to get a little more localized, what I use is Weather Underground, which does have an app.
Mm-hmm.
And NOAA may have an app too. I have no fucking idea. I don't really care. I'm good with going on their website, seeing the snakes and frogs falling from the sky and what other biblical catastrophes they have. And then I know that's the worst, and it's probably going to get a little better wherever else I look. But Weather Underground has a neat little feature where it allows you to tap into any local, and I mean local, like home-mounted weather stations people might have, as long as they're on the Wi-Fi or on a network. So I like using that so I can get really, really accurate, up-to-the-date weather. It's not going to be predictions, but it'll be pretty good, okay? It's better than a lot of places because, like, as you know, when you go on a weather app like NOAA or Weather Channel or whatever, it actually will tell you the airport 4-digit code or 3-digit code that where those conditions are being measured from, because that's where we get all our weather from. So for us, we see a lot of BDL in Connecticut, which is Bradley. If it's closest to that, you might see Barnes International Guard Base up in Westfield. You might see Westover in Chicopee. You might see all these different things.
Sure.
But you can see the weather. You can see where it's being measured from. So it's not like you're not getting the weather from a weather station mounted on the top of Channel 22 News in Chicopee. You're getting it from one of those 3 airports in the nearest area, because that's, when you're managing an airport, weather conditions are a little important. You know what I mean? For getting planes on the ground safely. But again, I use Weather Underground because I'm not trying to get planes on the ground safely anymore. I'm trying to get weather for a pond up to Shears, which some dude up to Shears might have a little weather station that's pumping that information out. So I go there. Fool around with Weather Underground. It's just like anything else. You'll get used to it. But I do like using that the most. Now, one thing that I will get into fishing on with weather, right, that I look at and I think is very important. Excuse me, I have to have a sip of tea. My throat's killing me. Was that a loud enough sip, Bobby Roseby?
Thanks for that. That was great.
Chewing on cough drops, sipping shit. I'm just a classy dude tonight. So one thing that I will look at, and I will tell everyone that I really pay attention to, is a weather pattern over a few days. Okay. There's one thing I look for. When I know there's a cold front moving in that I know is going to affect the fishing in a negative way. So if you see 3 days that are going to be within, 5 degrees of each other, one day it's 86 and sunny. The next day it's 84 and a little cloudy during the morning or something. So it doesn't get up to 86. But then you see the next day it drops to like 78. So when I see a drop more than 5 degrees, I'm like, okay, what's going on there? And I will look, like if you look at Weather Underground, you can see the highs and lows on the temperature. They have a graph as it's predicted for that day. And it makes a pattern, makes a nice little sine wave, so to speak. And then you'll see one point where the sine wave doesn't do what it was doing 2 days in a row. And you see it dropping. Sometimes you can see it very clearly. Oh, shit, that front's moving in at 2 o'clock in the morning. That thing never gets up to where it's supposed to for temperature, or it piddles out. You can look at that. And that's when I know the front's going to be moving in. And as long as there's no lightning involved, I try to be on the water in anticipation of that front. There's a good tip for you.
That is a good tip. That is a really good tip. And now there's a lot of things regarding weather that I have heard. Like I've heard, obviously moon phase is something that a lot of people who spend time on. I forget the name of the app, but there's actually I think it's called Basscast or Fishing Forecast or something. I forget the actual name of it, but this one app, it will have like a clock, and it'll basically say your prime times of fishing, based on or based on your region. And it factors in a whole lot of different things, not just your fronts and your changes, because I'll give you an example. I've heard that there is this rule of 3 days where if you have a drop, let's say you've had a tropical weather system come in and the heat and humidity is like just crazy high for like 3 days. You're talking like 90-degree days, and then it clears out and you're in the high 70s. And the forecast shows that you're going to be at the high 70s for a series of days, 3 to 4 days maybe, before it starts climbing back up. That it takes 48 hours, 72 hours for that change in weather to acclimate and have an effect on the water. Now, I'm not going to say that I can prove that either way, but it's something I've heard of before, is that when you see that change over, and one example is when you start looking at your transition seasons, fall into spring. So in spring, I forget what the air temperature is, but there's a number out there that some people use. We'll call it 55 degrees. Right. So when you see it's 55 degrees for like 3 to 4 days, and it's the low temperature, it's the low temperature that you're looking at. When you see those lows in the spring start to go up, that's when you know your transition is kind of starting. But you need to see it for a series of days. Like in New England, everybody knows our weather is completely jacked. Like you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. It's all over the place. So that in itself makes it a challenge. But when you can look at the patterns on a forecast and say like, okay, so now this is kind of starting. I think this last spring was a little bit of a different animal, because I feel like we saw that 3 or 4 day stretch a number of times, and then we got hit with like sub-zero temperatures. For another 3 or 4, like I think it was like, oh, it's beautiful on the weekdays, and then it was like ice cold sub-zero tundra on the weekends, and then it's just this back and forth. And you can see the same thing in the fall, like when your summer is starting to wrap up and you're getting into that transition when you're looking at those low temperatures. But I feel like there's something to be said, and when you see a trend happening, that there's a pause, because the water, it will hold, and depending on what the structure is in that body of water and the size of the body of water, there's many factors into how it will acclimate, how long it takes to acclimate for those changes in weather.
Wow, that was a lot.
It is a lot. That's why I think when it comes to weather, I'm baffled. I'm kind of like, it's doing things. It's doing something. Is that what you just said? Yeah. I'm like, it's doing the atmosphere,
So moon phase, let's tackle that first. I mean, I can only say what I do. And again, I don't have any problems talking about this because moon phase is a moon phase.
Yeah.
I have found a couple things with moon phases. Number one, there's an argument that goes on between full and new moon. I'm a new moon guy. I like it. My personal thought is, and this
is that a Twilight film, or is it?
Yes.
Sorry.
It's a cheap porn. So my personal thought is, bass are ambush predators. A full moon gives you light at night where they can see better, and so can their prey.
Yeah.
A new moon gives you nothing. It is pitch black out.
Yeah.
I like personally going out during a new moon. I've also noticed, no matter the moon phase, all right, and this is another great tip. Here comes that Hydra, that King Ghidorah of tips.
The Medusa. Just tips everywhere.
I have found that combining things with the weather, when you have moon phase, I like fishing an hour before moonrise or moonset and through an hour after. So 2 hour period around moonrise and moonset. Mm-hmm. I found a lot of action there. So hour before it rises or sets, hour after it rises and sets, that 2 hour period, even if you got a shit moon phase, for whatever reason, I found like a window where the fish seem to be a little more fired up. Even if they're lethargic, you might catch one fish that day, but that one fish might be good.
It might be a good one, yeah.
Yeah, or decent, or that might be the only nibbler you get that day, but you saved yourself from a skunk. As far as weather goes, so I think we talked about this last year at some point. I think we did, yeah. With northern bass and southern bass and how they react to weather, particularly cold fronts, because you got to know when a cold front's coming. So like if you know a cold front's coming, chances are, and you've already hit it after the front has moved through, so the storms have moved through, you're in the cold front. If you're in the north, it seems to be about 24 hours or less for those fish to recover, but they do seem to feel it. like pretty close to immediately. The southern fish take a lot longer. I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
I know they're two different species or subspecies, but in the north, 24 hours and your fishing's pretty much back to normal, unless something else weird comes through. You know what I mean? Like we've seen some wacky shit where it's been 70, 90, 50 degrees, you know, because all these wacky fronts moving through in a 3-day period like that, and then back to 80. That's going to make your fishing tough. But if you get three days, like per your example of 70, I'd be fine after the first 24 hours.
Yeah.
Like I have no qualms about that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I can't say that I've tested that theory and found it to be true, because I mean, let's be honest, if it is, you know, and if you, what you're saying is accurate and it's 24 hours and you see that 3-day pattern, it's going to hold true, you know. But, you know, I've also seen on the other end of things too, where I've also tried to use fronts as a good transition or a good indicator when to fish. So I'll try to look at when that front is coming and either get before or just after it. And sometimes that'll fire them up too.
Just after, I found that for me, again, you might have seen this differently, but just after for me, you can, like, if you're out 2 hours before that front hits and then you feel like in the summer and you feel that cold of like a really nasty cold front coming through, that'll shut them down almost immediately is what I found. But if you see different, I mean, people see different things, but that's how I do go about my business. Like I felt Friday, my pre-fishing wasn't that good, but here's the thing. I don't have a baseline because I didn't fish the same spot 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
I was so far away. I was a couple miles away from each spot I fished. So like, I don't know what the fish at that spot were doing with the deeper drop off on Friday, but the front moved in over my head. You know what I mean? That first wave moved in. And then by the time we were done fishing,
this was
11 o'clock on Saturday. No, Friday was just kind of a weird day.
Okay.
But Saturday was when the fronts came through. And you know, if I look at my records now, the two things that I'm not going to be able to tell are I moved away from that spot when the front moved in.
Yeah.
If I stayed on that spot Friday and then into Saturday through the front, I would have a lot more information on where I fished and how the fish react to a front. But I don't have that because I introduced too many variables. I introduced a pre-fishing spot on Friday that wasn't there. And then Saturday when the front came in, I left because I was, scared for my ass.
Well, yeah.
Which is fine. I just, I'm just trying to be as scientific as possible about this. I don't know how to judge the fish at Winnipesaukee when a front hits.
And then sometimes you do get these fronts that are just like a significant change. I'll give you an example. Thursday night, you saw these storms happen just like I did.
Yep.
It was a 22-degree difference in the course of the time that storm took to hit. It was a 22-degree difference that had occurred. I mean, that's going to shut some fish. That's going to have an effect on anything. I mean, that's a major, major change. It's just kind of bananas. One thing I do want to jump in here, Ellie kind of adds her 2 cents here. She says that weather never matters when it comes to if you can go fishing. It all has to do with how much your wife or girlfriend is hating you that week. Brought to you by Just the Nip.
I think that is our perfect bumper for just the Nip this week.
I think it is.
Yeah, that's it, man. I mean, there's so much involved with weather. I think we put a few good starting places out there. And
And maybe we can tackle this further down the road and like a more itemized, like maybe look at it as like fall transitions. That might be a good place to start.
Oh, that's a whole nother fucking.
That's what I'm saying.
Ball of wax right there.
Maybe it'll be another series.
Yeah,
and maybe it's something we should look into as we get into like the later weeks of August and into early September. We can start planning for it.
We can title that particular series "What the Fuck Is Happening," and then in the spring when it warms up, we can title it "Oh shit, not this again."
There you go.
Yeah, we're good.
I freaking love it. So that does it for Just the Tip. If you guys have anything that you want to, have us cover or share or anything like that, or you have any questions you need us to expand on something, reach out, get in touch with us, shoot us a DM on Instagram or go over to jigsandbigs.com, contact us there, or just email jigsandbigs413 at gmail.com. You know what time it is, Sean?
Yep.
Fuck that guy indeed. We got a twofer this week. A twofer for you guys. Why don't we'll go ahead and start with yours, and then we'll get to Adam's afterwards.
So I took a deep breath a minute ago.
Yeah.
Well, my day at Winnipesaukee was not complete without me being in the shallows or pointed towards the shallows, with my back to the main area of the lake where bigger boats were using as a channel due to the large rock shoals that were everywhere. So there was markers that boats, big boats with motors, jet skis, et cetera, were staying to, so they didn't kill themselves on rocks. So my back was to that. Somewhere around 10 o'clock, 10:30, as the weather was moving in, and I'm already a little fried, both mentally and my skin. Some guys in a fucking pontoon boat flew by me, and one guy yelled as loud as he could, "Hey, buddy, you ain't catching a cold out here today," and kept going. And I thought about it. Do I just extend my middle finger and see if he wants to come into the shallows and wreck his boat? And I just let it go. And all I had to console myself with was, you know what, asshole? I did, in fact, catch a cold and a smallmouth. But fuck that guy.
Yeah,
that's just uncalled for.
Yeah, that shit's no good. That shit is just no good.
People should get DUIs on boats.
Winnipesaukee. What are you doing?
Savages.
Fucking savages indeed. So for this next one, we got this. This was, I think it was Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday that this kind of came across. I got a DM from Adam, and I'm going to destroy your last name, Adam. I apologize. I believe it's Blamecki. Adam Blamecki had contacted us and said, "Oh, I've got a great segment for Fuck That Guy. Love to share it." And I sent him over the link over to our website so that he could just vent. And he recorded this right on the water. He was there. This is like had just happened to him. He was in his kayak or in his canoe, and he just experienced this. So he recorded it right there on the water. Pay attention to the audio. You can hear like the paddles and all. It's pretty awesome.
So my fuck this guy. I'm out in the Nashua River in my canoe, and some dildo in a fucking pontoon boat came out about 20, 25 feet from me and decided not to slow down, just kept fucking whipping by and kicked up a hell of a wake and turned around to seek approval, I'm assuming, from the other two dildos behind him. And I can only imagine that he was just trying to prove to them that he does, in fact, have an inverted penis. So...
Fuck that guy.
I was waiting for the punchline of prove to his buddies that he does in fact have the smallest penis among them, but Adam took it a step further with fucking inverted. I mean, that's just great. Yeah,
that's worse than a micro penis.
Second belly button.
No offense to anybody that has a micro penis, but
yeah. Oh Jesus. Yeah, fuck that guy.
It's like a hairy button.
That was the first. Oh, gross. That was the first time that I'd heard that, and I did not know that we were just surrounded by fuck that pontoon guy this week.
Yeah,
there's a couple of them.
Pontoon boats are like the worst. You remember last year when my wife was like, "I think if we're gonna get a boat, we should get a pontoon boat." And I wish we were doing fuck that guy segment right there, because you know who'd be on it?
You,
the wife.
Ooh, hey, let's not go that way.
I'd be
you
like,
for buying it.
No, because it would just never happen. I'm telling you, like if we had gone down that road and she was like, "Yeah, we're going to do a pontoon boat," I would have sucked it up, and I would have given it 2 years of sitting, doing nothing, and what I would have done was sold that son of a bitch and bought a bass boat.
There you go.
That's exactly what would have happened, because I would have just been able to throw out that, "Hey, we did this, we used it twice, it's gone." Yep. Done deal. Either that or we would have a floating podcast studio. And that would be fine. But, that's a lot of money.
I have two thoughts on the pontoon guy. So
hit me.
If you have a pontoon and you're out there just doing a little cruise, I think did I mention it last year? What I saw in Minnesota? This is a third thought, but did I mention with the dude that was ripping around his pontoon?
I think so.
Blasting like 80s AOR rock, just like it was Bon Jovi living on a prayer. Just drinking a beer at fucking 9 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, ripping around this lake with what appeared to be like 3 house speakers or 4 house speakers in his boat.
Nice.
Just blasting. I'm like, all right, that's cool. Well, I mean, if you're going to do this, I mean, go full board. You gotta be shirtless no matter the weather.
100%.
You got to be drinking cheap beer, maybe even White Claws. You've got to be blasting something that no one likes, but you think is really cool. I mean, I'm talking Limp Bizkit, possibly Kid Rock, definitely some sort of overproduced country, something like that. And you got to go for it. And you have to have friends in the boat you're trying to impress with some sort of stupid behavior.
And you got to be wearing Crocs.
My hope is that you fucking beat your boat or something happens bad to your boat. Nobody gets hurt.
No.
But you make yourself look foolish and learn a lesson.
Yeah, you want to see a stump put a hole in like one of those pontoons.
And then you want to hear from two friends in the boat. What the fuck, Chet?
Exactly. Fucking Chet. Oh, yep. Chet, you piece of shit.
My second thought is that have you seen this, or have I related to you this new species of lake lice I've been seeing, this lake louse that I've been seeing out on the water?
A new species? No. Yeah,
so we know that we have our standard lake louse.
Yep.
The larvae, which is any sort of jet ski, right?
Yes.
The maturing adult is the recreational, shall we say, speedboat with wakeboarding and et cetera capabilities. Anything you can drag somebody behind. You've seen those. They have that giant, that giant rack over the back and all the lights, and they generally have speakers so you can do your wakeboarding and your water skiing with music, which is annoying. And then, of course, we have the queen bean, the pontoon, but there's a new species, it might be the egg. I don't know if it's retro or if it's somebody trying to crack the market for, I don't know, like the entry level for jet skis.
Uh-huh.
But you remember the first generation of jet skis where they were just like really shitty. They didn't have a seat. You stood up on them and you had the fucking handlebars came up from the 80s. I believe if someone were to go on YouTube right now and look up the intro for Miami Vice, there's people zipping around on those fucking things in the early 80s. You know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Those things are making a comeback. There's no seat. I saw one at Cape Cod and I was like, is that a retro thing? Is that from the 80s somebody kept alive? I saw like 10 of them this weekend. So no, they are new.
Like somebody's just launching them?
Someone is fucking doing something bad to our lakes and reservoirs around the country.
Really?
That's all I have.
That's rough. Ellie jumps in and she goes, paddleboarders. But Ellie, did I not see on your Instagram that you were out paddleboarding today? Not today, this weekend at some point. Fishing from a paddleboard, in fact.
Ooh.
Nice job.
Classic self-loathing.
Oh, man, what a freaking crazy one. And Berkshire Brett chimes in here. He says, I've got friends that have a pontoon boat that go out every weekend with their friends that all have pontoon boats, drinking and blaring music. I'm dying here. It's true. There's something to be said about that redneck yacht club. Like, that's kind of like pontoon boats love that kind of shit. Although, actually, you say that, like, if you go into, like, Long Island and stuff, you see these boats, like, just paired up right next to each other. People are just, like, partying on one boat to the next boat. I get that. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you want to do. That's awesome. Just don't bug the people that are fishing. That's basically it. Ellie jumps in and says, dude, I was fishing from a paddleboard all weekend. But these other granola heads are no rules apply to the mentality. Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Yeah, there was several paddleboarders out on Winnipesaukee that might as well have been wearing fucking giant shirts saying "hit me" because they just went right wherever they wanted, just right in the middle of traffic. I was worried about cutting across between 2 points, a little tiny channel, and I would rip through. Paddleboarders can't go anywhere near as fast as a pedal kayak.
Yeah. Pedal kayak, you would say, dare I say that there is an advantage in safety for being able to get from point A to point B.
And no matter my hate of the word advantage, when it comes to a pedal kayak versus a paddleboard and safety,
100%.
I'm going to agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
I saw it.
Look, Mom, surfing without waves.
Yeah.
Oh, good stuff. Good freaking stuff. All right, well, let's take a look at what we got next, guys. We have Dylan Barber coming up in our next segment. You're not going to want to miss this, but we have chronic trip stuff that we got to go over first. Why don't we go ahead and do that?
Well, hold on, Bobby. Hold on. I know I have a theme song for this. I approve of that. I love the fact that you gave me a theme song.
There's actually 4 theme songs.
Oh my God!
I do 4? A little live mixing. Yeah.
Holy shit! All right, I would like to talk real quick first. It's August 15th as we're recording this.
Yep.
By the end of the week, I will have the next and final of 2021 edition of the Jigs and Bigs multi-species freshwater tournament up for registration on Fishing Chaos.
Nice.
So give me till the end of the week. Let me get rid of this whatever disease I have, and get my head fucking straight, and then I will have that up. So by the end of the week, jump on in, folks. We did we decide if we were gonna mix up the prizes a little bit, or is that gonna be next year? What are we gonna do?
No, I think we are gonna mix them up a little bit.
All right.
Yeah,
I
think we are gonna mix them up a little bit. I kind of like that idea.
Okay. Well, so we've been buying gear for both Chronic Trips and Jigs and Bigs tournament winners, and we think we can do better for you guys. So we're gonna try and explore some possibilities, and then we'll await your feedback. We're piloting this fucking ship of fools and see what happens.
Yeah, we'll leave it open ended just like that, because who knows what could be sent out to our winners.
Fuck. Well, if it's up to our jig heads, we know what they're getting. The double enders, apparently, according to Berkshire.
Very popular.
Sorry, there's a recall on that one. The vein size is not lifelike enough.
Maybe we can get a bargain and just ship a bunch.
That's it. That's it.
Buy the factory seconds.
No, don't send those out. They got a nail at the end.
Oh, Christ. All right, let's get to it.
Chronic Trips is just wrapped up week 2. And I cannot wait to give this review because I'm sick and I just got off the road like 2 hours ago and I don't know who's winning. So, tomorrow or the day after, probably tomorrow, I will have a full update on my Instagram page of the Chronic Trip standings. And I've received a lot of positive feedback about people enjoying the fact that I put everyone who's got points on the board.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be up tomorrow. I can say this. Jerry Howes was the first to 100. Jared Heath was the first to 200. I don't think anybody is near to 300 yet. But I'll find out tomorrow, and so will you guys. If you don't want to go to Sean the Fisherman, no underscores, no nothing, one word, one big run-on word, Sean the Fisherman on Instagram. Jigs and Bigs always repost it. We're a tag team with this, folks. If you don't want to look at my face, you can look at Bobby's. I don't give a shit. It's out there. And that's it. Sorry, it was a long weekend. I feel like ass.
It was.
A burlap sack of crushed assholes. That's how I feel right now. Is that appropriate?
I would say that's appropriate.
Okay. So sorry, folks. I don't feel good, and I tried. I really tried.
That's all good.
My wife's sick too. So Bobby Roast Beef, you have actually infected my entire household with whatever disease you passed along to me. And I'm guessing we caught that disease when we went arm in arm and ate bull nuts together as a team.
No, I think it's probably when we went to buy the prizes at Old Glory.
Oh, there you go.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think it was before that because it was 2 or 3 days I got sick after the bull nuts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it was bull nuts that did us in. But it's all right. That's what happens.
Well, I don't think we should blame the bull nuts. I don't think it had anything to actually do with the bull.
Oh, no. The bull nuts were delicious and definitely cold free.
Yeah. Although Ellie chimes in here with some late breaking Winnipesaukee news. You probably got sick from Winnipesaukee if you passed through the sandbar section.
Well, this is a cold, not an STD, Ellie. Otherwise, I'd agree with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the wife is sick too. She's been watching a lot of Netflix and sitting on the couch, which I don't blame her because this sucks. And I came home, got off the road, unpacked my truck, and made 27 gallons of turkey and rice soup with carrots. We've been eating it.
Nice.
Like it's just, so yeah, that's why Chronic Trips. I apologize, Seth. I apologize. I know he'll forgive me because I'll have
we'll
thing
have
up.
stuff up and posted. And it's only the middle of the month right now. So if you're considering getting, actually, I wish I would have entered while I was on the water because those white perch would have been great to enter in the perch category. Some of those. I think
there's only a couple people with perch too.
Yeah,
so that would have got
think
some
about
points.
that. Yeah, and even that crappie. I mean, it at least made the minimum. So it would have been something to enter in there too. It would have been another point. I didn't even think about that at all, but.
Yep.
Yeah. Good stuff, though. All right, guys, we're going to take a short break. We've got a quick message from our good friends at Three Bells Outfitters. When we come back, we've got Dylan Barber. We're going to talk to him about fishing, what he's dealing with in the Lone Star State, and we've got some geek talk for the end of after that interview. So stick around for that. We'll see you guys in just a bit.
Jigs and Bigs is proud to announce that we're being supported by Three Bells Outfitters. Located in Smith Cove on the Niantic River, TBO is Connecticut's premier paddle sports retailer. They're a full service shop specializing in kayaks and paddleboards for everything from recreation to tournament fishing. Three Bells is an authorized dealer of Hobie, Jackson, Feel Free, Native, and Bonafide kayaks, as well as many paddleboard brands. Not sure of what kind of SUP or kayak you want? TBO offers free demos of all brands. Want to go for an extended test drive? They have a full-service rental facility on site. Three Bells also offers a complete rigging service for your kayak with such brands as Yak Attack, Yak Gear, Burley Pro, Yak Power, Torpedo, and more. The sky is the limit. You can visit Three Bells Outfitters in person or online at threebellsoutfitters.com. They ship anywhere in the lower 48 states or order online and pick up at the store. Can't make it to the store to pick up your kayak or worried the freight company might damage your purchase? Three Bells Outfitters offers a white glove delivery of kayaks within a 225-mile radius of their store at a rate less than typical freight carriers. They will deliver your kayak, set it up, and answer any questions you may have. Be sure to follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget to tell them Jigs and Bigs sent you. Three Bells Outfitters, because life is better on the water.
Alrighty, guys, Bobby Roast Beef here with another interview segment. We have a good one this week. This week, I got Dylan Barber with us. We're going to get to know him a little bit, kind of talk some fishing. We're going to hopefully hear some great stories. Really, really excited about this. Dylan, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, not too bad. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. So I always like to start out, I'm a sucker for an origin story. I kind of want to know like where everybody sort of got their start fishing and where the passion, like where it really kind of took off for them. So if you could tell me a little bit about who it was that introduced you to fishing, how it kind of came into your life, and then how do we get to the point now to where it's, you know, it's such a passion for you?
So I pretty much lived with my parents all my life on ranches. My dad, obviously, he's the one that introduced me to fishing. I mean, I've literally been fishing since before I could remember fishing.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he kind of taught me everything. He, you know, got me started on Texas rig, all that fun stuff.
Yep.
We mostly started mostly bass and catfish. We've had some pretty big lakes around that. He got not really lakes as much as private ponds. We would catch probably bigger fish than most people are used to, just because they're stocked and well maintained and don't, you know, we don't keep anything out of it.
Yep. There you go. Awesome, man. How did you get to the point where now it was like, I mean, have you fished your entire life? Lots of times we hear stories about where people, they get to a certain age and, you know, they kind of put it down for a little while and then maybe pick it back up. Did that ever happen to you?
I kind of stopped for a while when I met my wife now about 4 years ago. I kind of stopped fishing for a while because I was always either working or spending time with her. I pretty much picked up fishing probably 3 months ago.
Oh, okay.
Because we just had our first child 1 year ago.
All right.
He actually he turned one today.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and he also decided to take his first steps today.
No way.
Yeah.
That's huge, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, y'all I started listening to y'all show. I found y'all show because I was thinking about getting back into kayak fishing because I used to go out with my dad all the time.
Yep.
And I think I literally typed in like kayak fishing on like I think it was Apple, and I think y'all were one of the first shows that came up.
Really?
Yeah.
No kidding. That's awesome. Well, hey, good. I mean, at least people are finding us. That's what matters, man. That's awesome. That's huge. So kayak fishing was your thing. What kind of a boat are you fishing out of now?
Right now I'm borrowing my dad's his Tarpon 120, his old Wilderness. I have a Perception Outlaw on order right now, which is supposedly shipping out next week. Hopefully it does, because I'm ready to get that in.
The shipping game is so fun these days. I'm waiting on a set of Boondocks, the cart system for my native Titan, and oh man, I can't wait to get that. And it's like a must. That's a 150-pound boat pre-rigged. And I'm just like, it's a must in order to make it work. But man,
I got an Ascend cart for my dad's kayak that I use. It definitely is a game changer because me and my buddy, we used to fish out of this old John boat. We would literally put this thing on our shoulder and carry it 100 yards to the water to get where we needed to go. Yeah. And that was a nightmare with a battery and a motor.
Oh my God.
All our gear.
Yeah, absolutely. Because either that or you're doing a million trips.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like just trying to juggle all that stuff. It makes it so much easier to put it right in the boat. But man, that's crazy. Now, as far as when you're going out fishing, what is your favorite season? Like where are you the happiest? So this is, I guess, the primary sort of focus here is like the creature comforts. Not so much about like, I like fishing. Everybody likes fishing spawn. Everybody likes fishing when they're feeding up as the temps start to drop. But like for you, what's your preference?
Well, here in Texas, anytime it gets below 60.
Yeah. Well, that's got to be pretty good.
Yeah.
That's got to be refreshing.
Oh, it is. Because, I mean, I've been fishing the last few weeks and, it's 98 degrees. Yeah. Which actually, funny thing is the last 3 times I've been fishing has actually been raining. So I honestly can't complain about that because, heck, we don't even get much rain here. But this year we've been blessed with a lot of it.
Yeah, this was a rainy year. We had record highs for a lot of our river systems up here. It's been. In fact, there was a tournament that Sean was directing, and he had to completely change. It was supposed to happen in the Connecticut River, wasn't able to go down. So he had to scramble to make that work. As far as like weather conditions that you just will not mess with, what is it that you're just it'll send you back in?
Lightning.
Yeah, I think lightning is kind of like. That's the go-to. I was just watching a video last night too. Was it a one-rod video? It was. And at the end, he was frog fishing, and then at the end, he's recording the outro, and there's lightning going on, and I'm like, dude, record this in your car. You don't need to be out here right now. Just record this in your car. Standing underneath a giant tree, and I'm like, It's terrible.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was out last week and it started raining so hard, and I was like, "Oh crap! Grab my paddle! I got to get out of here." And then I kind of thought, I was like, well, "I'm already wet. What's the point of leaving? Yeah. It's just rain." But it was coming out so hard I couldn't see the lily pads. I was like, "God dang!
That's
hard." Yeah. But I was like, I mean, I was throwing a chatterbait and slamming them. So
that's awesome.
I was like, I'm staying.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I'll take the rain. I this year I went out and invested in some rain gear so I could be out when it was like real treacherous. Even in the early fall when it's cold up here. Yeah, I'll just go for it. As far as like your preferred bodies of water, what are you looking for? Are you more into doing like pond hopping where you can take like either a small pond and break it down in an outing, or maybe a larger lake where you got to break it down a section at a time? Or are you one of those like river fishermen where it's all about a current system?
I like ponds and creeks personally.
Gotcha.
They're more. I don't plan on even getting big fish out of those, but creeks are just so much fun to fish for me. I definitely want to learn lakes and rivers more though. Yeah, because I'm not very familiar with big lakes. Like I live right by Lake Travis. I don't know if you're familiar with it. But it's a big, deep, rocky lake, and to me, it's not easy to fish.
Yeah. Now, what's the depth like there? What do you consider to be deep?
Oh, Lake Travis gets into the hundreds.
That deep, nice.
Oh yeah, it's a man-made reservoir. Yeah. And it feeds into Lake Austin, which is definitely significantly shallower. Which that one may be 30-40 out in the middle. Yeah, but it's a pretty thin river system.
No kidding. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Like up here, I mean, I know we've got some spots that are really deep. Some of the reservoirs, like Quabbin Reservoir, I think has some super deep areas. Maybe even Wachusett too. But like most of the spots, the deepest areas that I found have been about 40 foot. But that's only out of the places that I've fished locally. What's your like short list for confidence baits look like? What do you like to get out there with and throw? Like when you need them to bite, what are you throwing?
Like I said a second ago, chatterbait is a big one.
Yep.
That's one I kind of picked up right at the end of my last stint of fishing, right before I met my wife. And another one's Texas rig. Obviously, I grew up fishing that.
Oh, yeah.
I always fished weighted though, which I kind of want to start trying weightless, just because I think that's how my dad taught me, because it's easier to teach kids on that, because a little less patience, because it sinks faster and you can work a little quicker.
It's true. Yeah, it's definitely true. Although, I mean, a weighted Texas rig is so versatile.
Yeah.
You can do, that's the whole thing. You can change out, I mean, you rig it up and you can swap out and have a different bait just by changing the plastic. I mean,
yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Now, this is one of my favorite questions. It's been a mainstay the whole time. There's the saying, and I'm sure you've heard it, that fishing tackle catches more fishermen than it actually catches fish. In your lifetime, what do you think is the most ridiculous fishing tackle trend that the industry's kind of given us? And the follow-up to that is, have you been guilty of trying it, and how did it work?
So I don't know if it was really a trend. I don't even know if most people know about this, but the man's jelly worm. Have you ever seen that?
I've heard of them. I've never seen one up front, though.
It's about a 12-inch long J worm. And it's just, to me, it just looked ridiculously huge. I never caught anything on it, but I know people who've slammed them on that. So it's kind of hard to really say it's silly to me.
Yeah, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's like a really old school bait, right? That's been around for a long time, I think.
Yeah.
But there's some anglers that are just like, oh yeah, I like fishing a big worm. And that's what they're talking about, is like 10, 12 inches.
Yeah.
And that is just, I don't know. It's crazy. It is. It's massive. But I mean, everything eats worms. So it's like,
yeah,
it's not a bad deal. One of my favorite sayings is that, the right people can turn a shit day of fishing into a great time. If you could choose your top 3 people to take on a fishing trip with, and they can be living or dead, who would they be?
I think it would be interesting to go fishing with like Larry the Cable Guy, maybe 15 years ago.
That'd be pretty
he was a little younger. He seems to be more into golf now.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh man, who else?
That's funny. My oldest daughter used to be the biggest Larry the Cable Guy fan when she was a little kid, and it was right about that long ago, about 15 years ago.
Yeah, I was too. I listened to him all throughout probably middle school.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
Him and the other blue collar guys I just thought were funny.
Oh yeah.
I'd like to go fishing with probably Scott Martin. I think he'd be interesting to fish with.
Yep.
Be a bunch of knowledge from that.
Definitely.
And I mean, it's still possible my dad's still around, but I would like to go with my dad some more. Hopefully, once I get my new kayak in, I can convince him to come with me and take his out and go out somewhere.
Absolutely. That's awesome, man. I'm going out. I don't fish with my dad nearly enough. And I'm this fall, we're going on a trip to Lake Champlain.
Yeah.
And I'm so psyched. I'm so psyched. I think it's going to be so much fun. Now, on your way to go out fishing, or actually, let me start this question this way. Do you listen to music while you're fishing, or do you prefer silence?
I've tried listening to music, but honestly, it's my way to really relax. And because I'm around just constant noise all day long, because I work in a wood shop, so it's non-stop noise.
Yep.
So I've just found fishing in the quiet is way better.
Oh, there's definitely something to be said about that absence of sound. There's definitely something to be said. So that said, when you're on your way to go fishing, what is it that you like to listen to kind of hype yourself up?
I don't really I wouldn't say I listen to anything to hype me up.
Yep.
I mostly listen to country music. That obviously kind of something to just listen to. Up until, this stint of fishing, since I've gotten back into it, I've never had to drive far to go fishing. So it's never really been a thought of it. Because I was always either 10 minutes from Lake Travis or, 2 minutes from our little pond on the ranch that I'd go to.
Yeah, that makes sense too. I've actually had guests previously say similar things to where they're so close to the water that they don't even think about it. They get in the car, it's just they get there and then it's over. When you're when you're putting an hour and a half, 90 minutes, something like that. An hour and a half is 90 minutes, Bobby. But if you're putting some time on the road, then it might be a different kind of animal, like and help things out. But I guess that makes a lot of sense. What's your favorite chicken joint? And there's a precursor to this question. I classify a chicken joint as either having a drive-through or being inside a gas station.
So I got two answers for that. I got our fast food around here that I usually pick is Chicken Express.
All right. I like that. That's some like regional shit right there, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And mainly it's more because of their sweet tea more than anything. Because
all right,
they have probably the best one around. And the other one for the actual chicken itself, there's a place called Cooper's Chicken. It's in gas stations around here.
Oh really?
And I don't even know if all of them are good, but the one that we usually stop at because it's near some of our job sites.
Yep.
That's the one we go to, and it's pretty dang good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. There's like, the big chains that people always talk about, Popeyes and KFC and stuff. And then, lately Crispy Crunchy's been getting a lot of love, which is a good one too. But I think like we've concluded so far that the holy grail on that level is Bojangles.
Yeah. We unfortunately, as far as I know, don't have any Bojangles around here.
It's like it's weird. It's like a southern eastern coast.
Yeah, it's it's almost like Kentucky area, isn't it?
I think they start. I want to say they start in like North Carolina. They might go up to like southern Jersey, possibly, but I don't know. It's crazy. We were in South Carolina when we first had eaten at one, and it was mind blowing. And like like fried chicken tells you so much about somebody. Like what they like, it just tells you so much. I love this next question too. As far as your unusual talents, what's your most unusual talent that you have? It can be fishing related or not.
I don't know that I really have any unusual talents. Yep. I mean, aside from I think I'm a pretty good woodworker.
That's what I was thinking you were going to go. There's woodworking. I can get that.
Yeah, we do. I build custom cabinets and almost exclusively.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. To make a decent living too. That's a good business to be in.
Yeah, it's one thing that never really slowed down with COVID.
Oh, especially like if you're in home improvement, that was what we needed some stairs done at my house, and finding a contractor that had the availability to get them done, ridiculous. Oh, it was crazy.
It actually picked up with COVID because everyone was at home looking at all their stuff like, I need to fix this.
Driving them nuts. And they're just like, I got to work on this. I got to get this updated. Yeah, I definitely get that. As far as, fishing goes, do you have any goals that you would like to, like, where would you like to be in the next, say, 5 to 10 years?
I don't know. I just kind of want to get back into it more, kind of, like I said a minute ago, I'd like to learn a little more about fishing lakes and, more open areas, I guess you could say.
You think like tournament fishing might be on your radar?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to me.
Yeah.
I need to get a little more set up for it. I have, I got 13 rods sitting over there, but only a couple of them are ones that I would want to use in a tournament. Most of them are pretty old and worn out.
Oh yeah, I've got a collection of old gear like that.
One of them's actually one of my dad's old rods, an old Shimano Ultramag, I think is what it's called.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's an antique. I actually looked it up, and people like the older model of it. People are selling that thing for like $400 or $500. I was like, dang, I gotta hang on to this though.
Damn, yeah, that's rough, man. I recommend we're kind of in the same boat when it comes to tournament fishing. Like, I tinker a little bit in the chronic trips and the jigs and bigs tournaments, and that's just to kind of like learn the CPR sort of method. And I'm just like, it's a hurdle.
Yeah.
I like to blame some of it on the current kayak that I'm using. Once I get into the Titan, I think having a little bit more room might kind of help with that. But it's like it's just one of those things. Do I think I'm ever gonna go and get into tournaments? It's not necessarily like on a post-it note somewhere.
Yeah,
But it could happen. You never know.
yeah, I definitely want to get into it, especially once my son's a little older and he can, he doesn't have to be constantly supervised.
Yep. Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, you must not be getting much sleep these days.
No, he's actually really good. He goes to bed at 7 and wakes up at 7.
Holy cow!
Yeah,
You guys got lucky.
We lucked out on that one.
That's awesome. That's great. The kids that like to sleep, oh, that is great.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes life so much simpler. Have you traveled anywhere specifically to fish before? Like I would say, have you traveled anywhere like a trip 2 hours or more?
I mean, when I was younger, we went down to the coast every once in a while to fish. That's definitely more than 2 hours.
Yep.
Most recently, me and my wife went up to the Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri.
Oh yeah.
Or it was actually for our anniversary. We went up there and stayed in her grandparents' condo out there on the lake.
That's awesome.
It wasn't for fishing, but I was like, it's on the water. I'm gonna fish.
Yeah. No,
that was
absolutely.
That was probably actually the first time I got a line in the water since we started dating.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. Does she fish at all?
No. As she put it, her dad kind of ruined it for her. Not. I don't. She just took it wrong. But
Gotcha.
He would always tell her, like, "Oh, you got to be quiet, or the fish will hear you." And she just got bored of it too easily, I think.
I think it's funny. When I was a kid, I feel like that's the kind of stuff that I was constantly hearing. And when you're a little kid, yeah, like it's like it's hard to just sit there and shut up while you're watching a bobber do nothing. You're just like, all right, cool. My attention's gone elsewhere. It is. So it wasn't really until I got much older that I was just like, yeah, I enjoy fishing. Like this is, and then also like I didn't even realize that bass fishing with artificial lures was really a thing. Like it was until later in life.
That was definitely because the way my dad taught me, he taught me on, Texas rig.
Yep.
And that's just kind of what I was stuck with because he's like, oh, that's just what works. So that's what we use. And
yep.
So, I mean, we had like he had a big old tackle box full of lures that just never got used. I actually have a few stick baits sitting right here next to me that are his that I just took out of mine because they're old and rusty. And I just figured to hang them on the wall.
Sure.
But I just always thought that was funny, and I've started since obviously experimenting with other things, using especially like chatterbaits and stuff. I mean, it's good stuff.
Power fishing, anything where you're actively, creating action on the baits, like jerk baits. I love that kind of stuff because it's just constant work. It might be slow, at times you might be working it slow, but I don't know. I feel like it's active, versus like just sitting there waiting for a float to drop.
Yeah, I think it's definitely more fun being out there just throwing, cranking.
Although I will say, and now I'm gonna be 44. In all my years, now I could definitely be happy throwing a couple lines in with a couple of bobbers, waiting for some trout to bite, and maybe having a beer and bullshit with my friends. I could be completely down with that. And for when I started to get, I think it was 2012 when I started to get back into fishing, and really sort of like dive back in. I was doing a lot of catfishing and pan fishing back then, and I think that was kind of the appeal. I was like, I just need something to do. So I'd get together with one of my buddies who was really into it. We'd go out and fish, and we had no idea what we were doing, but we just throw like, hey, we got some chicken livers. Let's get some catfish. And we would just sit there and BS for hours and crack jokes, and we might catch some fish. Some nights we would like fill a cooler with catfish. It was great. And those were few and far between. Most other nights we would just sit there and just, talk and drink all night long. So that was basically it. But, now, what's your general like rod and reel arsenal for when you go out on like any given like typical send?
So right now with the kayak setup I have essentially room for 3 rods. So I take 3 rods most of the time. First one is a Guggen 7-foot finesse rod with a Lew's Mach 2 on it.
I love that
And
reel. It's so good.
yeah, oh, it's great. And I put a 10-pound on it right now. Yeah, I got a 10-pound line on it. And that's usually what I use for my little bit lighter crankbaits. And sometimes I put lighter, worm rigs on there.
Yep.
Second one is, honestly, I'm not even sure what, I think it's a Cabela's brand rod and reel. I got 10-pound on that one too. It's a bait caster. And I use that for throwing a little bit heavier worms. Usually my Texas rig.
Gotcha.
And then my other one, I have a 7-foot American Rodsmith with a Pinnacle reel on it, which is kind of it's my most high end reel.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the Lew's took over now. But I throw that usually for like my bigger swim baits and chatter baits and all that fun stuff.
That's
and
your, like,
it's actually the one I
power fishing rod.
try to use the most.
Oh, it makes sense. That definitely makes sense. Aside from, going out and fishing and, buying tackle and all that kind of stuff, how is it that you've kind of made fishing a part of your everyday lifestyle?
Well, I mean, since I work in a shop by myself, I listen to a lot of fishing podcasts nonstop all day.
Nice.
That's probably the biggest one. I have an Instagram account right now. It's basically just all my friends and family on there.
Yeah.
I went back and erased a lot of the stuff I've posted over the long time ago that's kind of irrelevant now. And I'm going to start kind of posting all my fishing pics and, especially when I get my new kayak in, I'm going to do updates for my kayak. All my, outfitting it and stuff. And I'm possibly going to take my old 10-foot John boat I have and start working on a mini boat build.
That's awesome.
Turn into a mini bass boat.
Yeah. There is a huge, almost like cult-like, that tiny boat nation stuff. Yeah. Where you get these John boats or these small boats and they get remodified. I mean, it's a rabbit hole, it's awesome.
Oh yeah. I've been diving down that rabbit hole for the last couple of weeks.
That's a good project too. If you've got it lying around, why not? Even when you're using a kayak, like that'll do, that'll have a separate purpose. You'll be able to do a different style of fishing. Yeah,
I almost thought of just finding going on Craigslist and finding an older John boat, maybe a little bigger than 10 foot because it's pretty tiny.
Yeah, 10 is a little small.
Maybe step it up to like a 10 or 12, something a little wider too, because it's fairly narrow.
Yep. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. 10-foot John boat is actually pretty small. Although I'll bet you it's light and easy to move around. That is nice.
Yeah, because the 10-foot just fits in the bed of my truck, and I can drive it wherever I need to. But I mean, I've seen two UT linebackers in that boat out in the middle of a pond and about sinking that thing.
Really? That's awesome. That's really awesome. All right, so here's the hypothetical, the big one right here. Sean the fisherman and I are barreling down the highways of America into the great state of Texas in the official Jigs and Bigs kidnapper van. We're blaring Metallica as loud as we can, and we're stopping to pick up some Cooper's fried chicken on the way. And sweet tea, because that's important. We get and we snatch you up and we give you the Jigs and Bigs corporate card to build a combo and throw some line on there, plus choose a bait to throw. Conditions, we have no idea because we're bumbling idiots. We have no idea what body of water we're going to. It's going to be a surprise. Build that rig.
So probably what actually my next rod's going to be is going to be a Guggen all around, probably 7.4. I think that's what length they have. 7.3 or 7.4, and then a Lew's Mach 2 bait caster on that one. With what I typically go with, I'll probably actually switch to fluorocarbon instead of mono, which is what I mostly use. And then I usually most of the time I use 12-pound line around here because it's pretty good universal here.
Yep.
And then for bait, and I guess it kind of depends on time of year.
Mhm.
I like top waters the most, but most of the time it's too hot here for top waters. Fish
Yep.
do not give a damn about them.
Really? Okay.
So probably either a chatterbait or a Texas rig. I use a lot of on the Texas rig. I use a lot of brush hogs.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's a kind of a go-to here.
that's a super
Or,
popular bait.
yeah, that or a pumpkin fluke.
I'll tell you, man, flukes. I have really this year. I have been just smacking them on a fluke,
Oh yeah,
weightless, and what I've been throwing them on for a combo is a 7.3 medium light spinning rod, 10-pound braid with usually like a 5 to 7 foot leader, fluorocarbon leader. I think it's 9-pound that I'm throwing on there. And I just I rig them with an offset worm hook, and I just go natural most of the time, as far as color, and I work them aggressively. Like I'm like, okay, so it's a fluke, it's a soft jerk bait. Let's fish it that way. Sometimes if I feel like it's more of a topwater bite, I'll use jerk shads from Z-Man because they'll float. Otherwise, I'll use any other fluke, and I have just been smacking them.
yeah.
I mean, it's like when I need a bite, it's almost to the point now where I feel a little bit more confidence with that than a Senko,
Yeah.
which is kind of interesting because I do fish a Senko very much the same way. Rarely do I throw a wacky rig, but
Yeah, what wacky rigs? Those work real good here too. But
yep.
One I've always kind of shied away from them because of the weedless effect that they don't have.
There's that too. It's like what I love is like if you have docks like at a marina and there's no real grass around, like it's awesome because they just sort of flutter down, they do their thing, and then you just try a new spot. And I like to, like when I'm out with my kids, I'll set them up with like a wacky, or my wife even. Although I have got my wife into chatterbaits. I think she finds that a little bit more of a moving presentation closer to like something that's power fishing is a lot more enjoyable. So that I think definitely helps. But usually I set her up with a spinning combo and a bait caster, and she'll have either a swim jig or a chatterbait on the bait caster, and then on the spinning combo I usually set her up with like either a Texas rig or a wacky rig Senko, and she'll do all right with that. But I gotta get her out. It's been a while since I got her out fishing with me. All right, so you know the deal. The cornerstone of this entire show is all about fishing stories. There's two main stories that I'm looking for from you. It's like that moment where you're most proud of something that happened on the water. It might have been a PB. It might have been like something where something went wrong and you were able to write it, or, whatever it is that you're just like that one story that like, you got to hear this, that kind of thing. And the other story is like that biggest... that type of moment. And I think the hardest thing about that one for a lot of people is picking one. So if you have like an honorable mention or something, we can throw that one in there too.
Well, it's probably I would say, our biggest accomplishment. We there's if you go on YouTube and search the gnarly gar, there's an old video of this. It's a bar or a lakeside bar. They would people would throw their leftovers in the water and stuff, and just these monster catfish would be just coming up and just devouring it, like just hundreds of them at a time.
Really?
So me and my buddy, we were big into catfishing for a while, and we were like, well, we got to go over there and catch some of those catfish. But they've been closed down for a while, so we were like, well, let's get over there and try it. But the thing is, to get to it, it was about a 2-hour drive to get to it, or about a 5-minute boat ride from the opposite side of the lake. But Lake Travis is super wide, and the only thing we had was my John boat with this little trolling motor on it, and the trolling motor was kind of jerry rigged, as in the throttle didn't actually work, so I had a light switch wired into it, and it had one speed: go or don't go.
Don't go. Yeah.
So we puttered across the lake. Somehow didn't get hit by another boat. Went over there, and we had this bait we found, I think at Dick's. It's this catfish bait that looks like that bubble tape stuff, but it's white.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, there's no way this is gonna work, but we're gonna try it. So we cut off a couple inches, stuck it on a hook,
Yep.
and ended up catching a 38-pound blue cat over there.
Holy shit! Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty
and
awesome.
then the lightning was rolling in, so we're like, well, I guess we got to go. And so
Yeah.
we had to putter back across the lake with waves bouncing us around. And
Oh man.
funny enough, we had that catfish on a stringer on the side of the boat, and it got wrapped up in the trolling motor halfway across the lake.
No.
Oh man, that was a bit of an adventure. So we had to unwrap it real quick and keep going.
Oh yeah. Yeah, especially if you got storm rolling in like that, you don't want to be out on the water at that point.
Yeah.
No way. That's a 38-pound blue. That is awesome.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
That's like, so one thing I Sean the fisherman and I talk about that. One thing Massachusetts does, they do very few things right, the state.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that they do really right is they have this program for it's even for catch and release. For when you have record fish, so you can get a state pin.
Uh-huh.
And basically it's like CPR. You take the measurements of the fish, you submit the pictures, and then if it fits in that category, does Texas, I know that there's the Lunker, what is it program?
We got the Lunker and the Share Lunker program here. That's for largemouth only, as far as I know.
Is there anything else like that where Texas provides awards for accomplishments in fishing or anything like that? I'm not familiar.
Not to my knowledge, but I've never actually really looked into it.
Yep.
But 38 pounds is definitely not a record around here.
Oh no, yeah, I'm
yeah.
sure. But man, that's a big blue. I mean, we don't even have blues up here.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you got to go to. I don't know if you can get blues in New York, but I know you can in like Maryland, definitely in Virginia. But yeah, I don't even know if you can get blues anywhere up here. But man, that is freaking dynamite. Now, what about the epic fail?
I don't know if it's really a fail on us as much as almost a fuck this guy segment.
Oh, I'm down for a remix. That's good.
Okay. So we were at this little bitty park. The park's probably about 30 yards wide. At the shoreline.
Yep.
And we had probably four rods set out on this little bitty park. All of them, keep in mind, with like 20, 30 pound bright orange high vis line on it.
Oh yeah.
And people fish here all the time, so it's not like we're the only ones that did it. And it's got this little 10-foot pier on it. And this kid in daddy's wreck boat comes hauling up to the dock and picks up a couple girls off of it. And he just hammered down on this boat. And he gets about 30 yards, and all four of our rods start screaming. So we're racing to cut the lines off all four of them.
Sure.
And he gets about another 50 yards, and his boat just takes a dump.
Oh, wow, really?
And we look over there, and he's got the back seat up, looking at it, looking all upset. And I was like, that's what happens, I guess.
That's some wreck boating instant karma. That's what that is.
Yeah. I mean, we watched him float down the river for half an hour before he disappeared around the bend where we couldn't see him anymore.
Oh, I bet.
But another this is probably more of a fail than that. That same John boat with the light switch rigged up.
Yep.
We were out on the opposite end of the lake setting up drop lines, doing hood rat shit.
Yep.
And we get about a half mile down the lake, and the motor decides it doesn't want to work anymore. Yeah, I was like, shit. And we're on the side of the lake, but there are no houses or nothing. So my buddy grabs a tow line, jumps in, and has to swim us back to the other side of the lake.
Oh wow! You guys didn't have a paddle?
Nope, no paddle, because we were, we're like, we don't need a paddle.
Yeah, we got this motor that's got go and do not go. We're good.
Yeah, and I was working on it later. Figured out it was the light switch that shorted out because
okay. Well,
not enough power to really hit that 12 volt.
True. Damn, that's rough, dude.
It could have been worse. I could have been the one swimming.
That's true. I mean, think about it. Like, at least you had a friend that was willing to jump in and swim. Was it a long swim?
Probably about 50 yards to the other side of the lake, maybe a little more.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a pretty decent move. Hauling a boat. Wow.
Yeah.
That's rough, man. That is brutal. Well, Dylan, go ahead. This is your opportunity, man. Promote if you have anything that you want to share. If you want, let people know how they can contact you, check you out on social media. This is your moment.
Well, the only thing I have right now is my Instagram, and my Instagram it's Dylan B47 _308.
Nice.
And I'm gonna start posting on that a lot more pretty soon here.
Definitely. It's a great opportunity, man. Go ahead, utilize it. Instagram has totally changed my my attitude towards social media, man. Facebook has turned into such a cesspool.
Yeah,
like, I just can't anymore with it. It's like, it's more of a formality than anything now. And Instagram is actually, I really enjoy it. Mm-hmm. It's pretty good. So, and we've managed to find a lot of really great communities. Now, you have competed in the Jigs and Bigs tournaments previously, correct?
Yes.
So we got another one starting on September 1st.
Yep.
And it's going to be a killer. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a real good one, man.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome, man. We're looking forward to it. Hey, thanks so much for doing this, dude. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Do me a favor, and if you have any pictures with you holding like just an absolute giant, send them over to me, because what I'll do is I'll use it for the artwork of this episode.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yeah, I'll see what I can find.
Awesome, dude. Thanks so much, man. This will be on. We're actually going to drop this one and flip it real quick, so you'll be on this upcoming Tuesday.
Okay.
Awesome, dude. Have yourselves a good one.
You too.
All right, take care, bud.
See ya.
Bye-bye. Here we are, guys. Just about to wrap things up for this week's show. We got some geek talk to talk about. That was a great interview with Dylan. And I've had, it's always funny. I have a lot of guests that have been choosing that later at night recording around 10 p.m. after I'm done with trivia. So those recordings are a little bit quick. And I always feel like the interviews go so quickly, because I know it's the end of the night. Everybody is just kind of like trying to get through it and everything. But I mean, I have such good conversations. Sometimes they just go on and on and on, even after we record. So great talking to Dylan. I know that he's entered some of the tournaments that we do, and we'll see what happens. We'll see if we can get an alligator gar on the board. That I'm interested to see.
Any gar.
What are we going to get? Really, any gar, but yeah,
nobody's turned in a gar yet.
Yeah. September could be the month.
Yes. September is National Turn in a Gar month.
It is.
This is a month for everything, so fuck it.
Good stuff. So, Sean, you took some advice from me to watch a television program that I thought immediately of you when I had seen this, about collectors of toys.
I did. I watched, you had said, watch the Toys That Made Us the Transformers edition. And I said, okay, episode. And I said, okay, I'll check it out while we were, slamming turkey rice soup this evening before we got on the recording here. And yeah, it had, I'm not going to say I didn't know most of that, but it was nice to hear from the designers in Japan. That's always a good take, so their interviews were, I thought, really good. I'm a nerd. I researched that shit, so I knew most of it, but it was not, it was presented in a way that somebody who didn't would be able to. Plus, they really minimized the Michael Bay shit, which is just, thank God they did that. Oh, yeah.
It's just a blip on a radar.
Yeah. But, no, they did a really good job with it. They focused a lot on the, 84 through 88 lineup, and then a little bit on Beast Wars, and that's really the two big, decades of Transformers. I know, the movies, the live action movies made $1 billion or whatever, but nobody gives a shit about those things.
It's so funny. I just watched a Shia LaBeouf movie today.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting one. It's one he wrote.
Which one?
Honey Boy.
I'm really sorry to hear that.
Did you see it?
No. I can imagine.
Yeah, it's interesting. Say the least.
What's it about?
So it's about a child actor, actually, and his bizarre kind of relationship with his father. It's interesting. Like, and it's one of these things where there's like dual timelines happening. Like he's having memories of his childhood, and then he's also at the same time going through rehab as like an actor now, and he's, going through this whole procedure to like deal with his own issues and stuff. And it's interesting. It's very interesting. You've probably seen like the pictures of Shia LaBeouf where you're like, that's Shia LaBeouf?
With the beard?
With he's got the long hair and he's wearing like the John Lennon kind of style glasses.
Yep.
Yeah, it's that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Money can't buy your sanity, apparently.
Oh no. Just do it. Just do it. Oh, yeah. Good stuff, man. Anyway, this was a really good show. Just the tip this week was informative, very informative. And, we've just kind of cracked the seal on weather patterns and weather and fishing, that relationship. But it's one of those things that you got to plan for it. And like Sean said, even at the base level of what's it going to do, how can I be prepared for that weather? There's certain things that you can just, keep in the back of your mind and store for gear and maybe carry them as backups for when the shit hits the fan. It's like you're going out on your boat. Keep your rain gear on there.
We should also add with that weather.
Yep.
If you see a storm coming in, for God's sakes, get into your pontoon boat and raise a flagpole and start drinking and get out on the water as far away from land as you can. Please, please, please. I
would recommend it. It's the safest place to be if you're in a pontoon boat specifically, or a jet ski, possibly a paddleboard.
Paddleboarders.
Poor paddleboarders.
Oh my God.
My goodness.
Yep.
Oh, well, guys, I think that's going to do it for this week's show. It was a good one. I feel like it was educational. It was very informative and a little slightly entertaining. A big shout out to Not the Boys, the trivia team from Thursday, who we had a listener playing trivia, man. If you guys come out and you're playing one of my trivia games or something, definitely say hello. I love that. I think that's the greatest thing. What do you got, Sean?
I just wanted to say another thank you to Sarah and Chris Pendergrass for hosting the all the people that fished at EKF. It was 5, 6, 7 of us, however many people were there eating all the food and everything. Mm-hmm. Sarah was especially happy because she pulled me aside and said, "Oh my God, whenever anybody comes here, all I have to do is cook and clean." She goes, "Thank you for cooking." I'm like, "Oh, anytime. Fuck, I don't care."
Hell yeah.
So thanks to them for hosting. That was awesome. It was great to spend time with them. More time with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're awesome. I like them. They're super great. John and Judy Richardson also were at Winnie competing as well, right?
They were. So I looked at the results, and I think John had some sort of a snafu with his submissions. And from what I heard, he caught a couple of monster bass, but there was a submission issue because I looked at the standings final standings, and he had 13 inches. So I'm like, well, that's not right. So something happened there where there was confusion over the time of submission, et cetera, et cetera. Something happened. I don't know. And then I don't know how Judy finished. I did see them both on the water right when we pre-fished, which was nice.
Cool.
So I yelled over. I said, "Hey, Judy, is that you?" And she's like, "Who's that?" And I'm like, "It's Sean." And there was a blank stare. And I go, "Minnesota guy, you were just on a podcast. We just interviewed you." She's like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" It's all good.
Awesome.
So thanks to Judy and John. I did say hi to them yesterday, and everybody else who participated. And thanks for Ken, Jason, and Adam for putting that on. It was a blast.
That's awesome, man. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Lake Champlain is coming. We're only a few weeks away now. We're about less than a month out. Yeah, 3 weeks away. Damn, that is going to be so good. Let's stock up on Fisherman's Friends. We're going to need it.
Oh my God, buckets of them. Should we just call them and say, what can we do for you guys to be advertising on the show?
I know.
We eat your products. Like, we're going to talk about your products whether you pay us or not. I mean, you want to give us free stuff? Like, give us free stuff.
Yeah. Let's do this. It's a good idea.
We spend the national GDP of Colombia on your products a year. Like, hook us up.
Guys, go ahead, get out there, catch some fish, enjoy it. Summer's coming to a close. Things are starting to wind down. So, make a little extra time to get out there and give yourself an opportunity to be out on the water, catch some fish, be safe, of course, take good care of yourselves. And remember, as always, wear your frickin' PFDs. We will see you guys in 7 days on more Jigs and Bigs after this episode drops. We'll see you very, very soon. We got some new stuff coming up for our Patreon Patreon followers, our jig heads, you're going to get some good stuff sent over to some uncut stuff. I think you're really going to like it, guys. As always, take good care of yourselves. We'll see you again. Have a good one and tight lives.
Man, it's been a minute since I woke up like this, but it ain't my first time, I hate to admit. Sometimes it just happens, and sometimes it don't. I never see it coming, it's out of my control. It felt so real, wish I could go back now, yeah. The good old boy knows what I'm talking about. As I had a wet dream, just me and my dinghy, out on the water with that old Baba sinking. Cold can in my left, right in my right. I ain't ever pulled bass like that in my life. I was somewhere on the lake, happy as can be. Damn, all I am is just a mess in the sheets. I had a wet dream, ooh yeah. The sun was setting, I was moonlight fishing. My two-stroke was burning nocturnally emissions. I motorboated through two big old buoys on the bay. It was hard to tell them, but it turns out they were fake. As my alarm started ringing, that sun hit my eyes, and man, this country boy done realized I had a wet dream, just me and my dinghy, out on the water with that old Baba sinking. Cold can in my left, right in my right. I ain't ever pulled bass like that in my life. I was somewhere on the lake, happy as can be. Damn, all I am is just a mess in the sheets. I had a wet dream, oh yeah. That snooze, I'ma hit it, slide right back in it. Hope it lasts more than a minute. And if she asks, I'ma tell my girlfriend she was in it. Oh shit. But my wet dream was me and my dinghy, out on the water with that old Baba sinking. Cold can in my left, right in my right. I ain't ever pulled bass like that in my life. I was somewhere on the lake, happy as can be. Damn, now all I am is just a mess in the sheets. I had a wet dream, ooh yeah. Man, I really need to go fishing or something, cause I'm about to explode.
Motherfucker, 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 motherfucker.